Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Pull-On Challenge! Featuring Jason from the Chuggler Ray series. I legit put that in the...
No, I saw. I'm just like, okay.
Alright, I guess that's you now.
Yeah. You know, there's like the stories of like the artist that's like makes a deal with the devil. They're like, I want to make something that's like
Memorable.
beloved by all, and they want to do something like really, meaningful and profound and everything, but instead it's like some silly cartoon or whatever, and it completely takes over their life, and they can't go anywhere without being recognized as, hey, you're the guy who did that thing that they actually like hate, but at least they've gotten what they want of being recognized.
That reminds me, actually, I saw a Dragon Ball What If story where Yamcha wishes on the Dragon Balls to know what his legacy will be, and his mind is just filled with visions of like him in the death pose after dying to a Cyberman.
Yes, that kind of thing.
And he's like, really? And then he goes mad and destroys the universe. But aside from that,
valid.
But aside from that, Warcraft.
Yeah.
We are in Alpaca.
Look at those legs when you jump.
We go boing.
That is some pronking.
Oh yeah. So last time we finished off the Night Fae campaign. The patch 9.0 content, so now we've moved on to patch 9.1, Korthia. Which is just kind of another landmass that got almost literally stapled onto them all in universe. So we're gonna go to the ominous hole.
The ominous hole. As opposed to all the other holes we've gone through, which have not been ominous at all.
I have absolutely seen What If Reddit's turned good. Shoutouts to Ranch. And Dragon Ball R&R. Both are gliding along the floor after a good start. Everyone talking at once.
You have my thanks. The Mars will seek to plunder our secrets.
So, like, stapling another landmass onto it, that doesn't have any impact on any gravity or tides or anything, right?
Well, there is no tides. It's a floating island.
No. Well, yeah, but gravity.
Also, there's no water.
Gravity is just,
Yeah. There's no water here. Also, we have. I mean, they stapled a landmass onto the underworld, as in this is where you go for eternal torture.
Yeah.
So this is fine.
I mean, like, metaphysically.
Yeah. No, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Isn't there water here in, like, if you clearly still have a body?
I guess there's water in me. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like other than that. So today we get to see why Bolvar's character here is. I mean, maybe we'll see it today, but in the Korthia plotline, we'll see why everyone thinks this guy is worse than useless.
Time has come to resume our pursuit of the
we are
use fewer.
Okay, cool. It's like, here, do patch 9.2 with a character we haven't met yet. Anyway, don't worry about the fact that the Primus is talking to us. Ignore that. We haven't met him yet.
I love MMOs just like not really being able to capture the experience of linear time.
Yeah. Oh yes, a row of eternal torture. Texas. With no water. It makes sense.
Yeah.
We've stapled California on. Let's see.
That'll do it.
I can say this because I'm Californian. Let's talk to the Covenants. Wee! Out. Out.
Take me with you.
Hello.
A blade is a tool. The skill is in the
I want to fight people. Okay, Nadja. Grommet.
It's so cute.
You can get one to follow you around and help you find treasures, and it gets the subtitle "Good Boy."
Oh boy.
And if he finds enough stuff, he becomes very good boy.
Excellent.
And
It
what
is, isn't it?
As you were.
Whoop. Hole. Another Nemesis unit.
What knowledge do you seek?
Currently unable to finish survey. Chance of failure due to hostile creatures at
I
95%.
exist to answer all your questions.
Oh, well, you know, that's manageable. 5%'s not 0. Okay, maybe it's 0.
Put a sharpening stone on my weapon.
Need some help?
Also, I get little Fey Guardians. I don't think I mentioned this yet. I have the full campaign armor set. So I get set bonus stuff, which includes summoning these men. There's a big boy over there. Let's ignore him. You.
This is kind of peaceful. Never mind.
Go in silence.
Oh, here we go.
The skeleton is funny.
I like how this guy has like a skull face for no reason, despite not being corporeal.
Yeah, I mean, the whole, and also just like comically spiky armor, like even for World of Warcraft, like that's literally like they like bent an Iron Maiden the other way.
Yeah.
Right.
Are we the baddies? And all the guys are like, endless suffering awaits you, blah blah blah. And meanwhile, Sylvanas is like, yes,
I mean, you
we're
are playing
definitely,
World of Warcraft.
Yeah, and Sylvanas is like working with these guys, and he's like, yes, we're definitely the good guys doing good things. Yes, this is definitely. Sylvanas is genre blind.
Yeah.
All of my trauma and suffering has stemmed from the Lich King. I'd better team up with the guy who made the Lich King, and is basically Lich King but bigger and less charismatic.
I think it would be funny if the resolution to World of Warcraft, when they finally ended, is someone manages to cast a world spell that gives everyone genre savvy, and suddenly all the problems go away because people realize what's going on.
Yeah. They take the least convenient route possible. I'm over.
Face whatever comes.
Complete 3 daily quests.
Much has been asked. More.
Whee!
Alright, see you in 3 days.
Hi, Kael'thas. From Burning Crusade.
Is it a sin to fight for survival?
This guy had a whole storyline in the Revendreth Venthyr class campaign, which we didn't do. So he's just it's like, oh yeah, remember this guy? He's back. Well, I mean, he's still dead, but
All I did was for the sin.
Well, you know, I mean, Yeah, the dead part doesn't really matter for.
This is
Anything
the
at this
afterlife.
You
Yeah.
bear interest.
Yeah, it would be more surprising if he showed up and was alive.
True.
Leave me to my work.
Acquire quests.
That's the fun. Like you go to the afterlife looking for someone that you know is dead, and none of the afterlives have any idea where they are. That's when you should be concerned.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
That reminds me of, not to go back to Dragon Ball, but the time after Namek explodes. They're like, okay, we wish Goku back to life. I can't do that. Why not? Because he's not dead.
Yeah.
Time to fight some of these men. They're devourers. Their whole thing is they eat energy. And that
Yeah,
includes
that's
people.
what eating is.
And that includes people's life force. And that's bad.
How many calories do you think a person's life force is?
I don't know. Hard to say. I mean, to be fair, calories are not really properly indicative of a whole lot aside from,
The amount of energy stored in something.
yeah. And not even that, it's here's how much energy it produces in a flame, I think.
I forget the exact thing, but yeah.
Something like that. Which is very applicable to digestion, surely.
No.
Because as we all know, our stomachs run by setting things on fire.
Well, I mean, acid used to be called liquid fire, so. We do. It's just not fire. It's acid.
And well, you know, people used to be stupid. Still are, but we used to be too.
Yeah, they still, yeah. That's the one. Yes. That's a Mitch Hedberg bit, right?
I don't know. I've probably heard
The,
it somewhere.
I think it was like I used to drink a lot. I still do, but I used to as well. Or like it was like what the used to, and then like I still do.
Something.
But I also used to.
Hey, let's get this totally inconspicuous mining node. I'm sure nothing interesting. Bro!
Excuse me, we're trying to hit the inconspicuous mining node.
Too conspicuous. Anyway, time to mine this inconspicuous mining node. I'm sure nothing interesting will happen.
Absolutely.
Hooray, 150 mining. I may have been sitting on that for like a week and avoiding every mining node I came across. Because I wanted to hit 150 on stream.
You know, makes sense.
From it.
Alright, yeah, that was it. I used to do drugs. I still do, but I used to as well.
I think one of the male dwarf jokes in this game is, I don't drink anymore. Of course, I don't drink any less either.
It's a different joke, but it reminds me of I went to when I lived in Seattle. I went to a
Starbucks?
no a person I know online's improv shows where they would the whole bit was it was like out of touch white wine moms and such people in a book club, and they all show up, and the audience would bring books, and they'd pick a book from the thing, and they would have to like incorporate that into the thing while they're all at book club, no one having actually read the book. And so they had these caricatures of the sort of you would see at these things, and various guests would come in, and they'd have sort of ongoing characters each, so like once a month. But one thing I very clearly remember is one time they had a guy who came in, and everyone else was. They literally would actually, as part of the act, have several bottles of wine that they would go through.
Oh,
and they had a person who was, a guest 1 month that did not drink, and so, but they made it into part of their character. Like, oh no, thank you, I don't drink anymore, and then they go on. Like, oh well, that's really great. It's like, yeah, no, now I've been really into ayahuasca. Like, oh, okay. I just think the character of like, no, drinking is bad for you, but really, really intense drugs, that I do constantly.
Constantly, yeah. Alright, heal the last man.
Like, are you out of your mind? Jaywalking? That's illegal. Now, I'm gonna go do some arson.
Of course.
And you think about how important road safety is.
It's not something to be taken lightly.
No, absolutely.
Alley-oop. Acquire orb. I like how these are here to get you used to daily quests, but I'm fairly certain none of these are actually daily quests. I've never seen them outside of this quest, I don't think, to do all of these.
Who is to say that days exist here?
I mean, there are daily
look
quests.
At the cover of that sky.
Yeah, there are.
Is it day?
Yeah. There are daily quests in this zone. They're just not these quests.
Right.
You know.
Is this? But also, are there daily quests in other zones?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this a zone where someone would start out and need to get used to them?
No, but it's just like establishing that this zone has them, I guess.
Okay, all right. I from a game design standpoint, I question the need to get people used to it, but I think
I question a lot of game
understand what you
design
mean.
choices in this game.
Well, yeah, really. That's I suppose compared to other things, that's not incongruous.
For anyone wondering, hey Jorb, why do you do this series if you complain about the game so much? Well, I started planning this in Mists of Pandaria, which was a good expansion.
Do you have a plan for, like, a point where you'll actually be done with it? Or are you just gonna keep going as long as they're making
I'll probably
expansions?
keep going. I mean, I'll probably do Dragonflight. I hopefully won't wait until the end of the expansion this time. I might try and do it a bit more in tune with the patch cycle.
That might be a better idea.
And we can actually experience things linearly properly.
Yeah.
For the first time in this entire series.
Is that right? Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. I did level 80 to level 120 in 2 days before the level squish hit. That was
I remember that.
it was draining.
Have you actually recovered from that yet?
Yeah,
Intriguing weapon. Then may I
I just don't want to do that again.
Yeah. I mean, they say it takes like 4 hours of sleep to make up for 1 hour of lost sleep.
More walker.
New pants. And so we start replacing this set gear already.
Oh boy.
What did you break this time?
Does that mean you can no longer summon your fairies?
I think I still can. It's like
Or do you only need like
it's
some?
like I need. Whoops! Don't sell that. I need 8 out of 9 to summon fairy.
Okay.
Shoutouts to these here shards, which was a mechanic for special gem items you could put in your gear in patch 9.1, and then in patch 9.2 they disabled them.
I mean, that's just MMO development.
Yeah. I mean, like, you could still buy them, apparently. They just have no effect, as you can see by the text being grayed out.
Should probably not let people buy them then.
Yeah, probably. I mean, the only things you need to buy them are items specifically for them. This is just upgrades. Here's the shard and items that can only be used to upgrade the shards. I don't know why you would do that at this point, but you can.
So you could, so like you can't accidentally spend some resource you would use on something else to get them, and you can still get the resource that you would use to buy them.
Yeah. Now I can't summon the fairy anymore.
Okay. Just imagine, like, in the middle of something, someone being like, "Oh, hang on, I need to change my socks." What? Oh, I just realized I don't have. I need to be able to summon these fairies. Take one sock off, put another sock on. Okay, there. Now I'm wearing enough of this outfit.
Go with the purpose.
So the guild told 50 DKP minus. That's a throwback to Vanilla WoW.
Have you come to
Hi,
trade
Venari.
or to waste?
A thank you is polite. A favor is better.
Neapolitan WoW.
Yeah? Oh,
Oh, yeah,
I
I did
get it.
vanilla.
Okay, vanilla, yeah.
Will that be all, More Walker?
We have need of open space, but not too exposed to prying eyes.
I think Neapolitan WoW would be combining Classic with Wrath, just Wrath of the Lich King, skip Burning Crusade,
Will do.
and then Mr. Pandaria, skip Cataclysm.
Kindly activate the device with a touch of
Okay.
your anima.
That's what I want.
It worked.
Just the vanilla content, then Northrend, and then Pandaria. Nothing
Oh
else.
dear, I seem to have left my back in that musty
What would
cave.
midship WoW
Retrieve
be?
it from me and we shall depart.
Ooh, mint ship. Probably Legion, lots of green in that
Hurry on
expansion.
now. We have much to discuss.
Still have the bag debuff while in the teleporter.
French vanilla is just vanilla with like modded texture packs.
It's classic WoW with the language set to French. I mean, come on. I mean, what else would it be?
Well, texture packs because French vanilla has like more of like a texture to it, right? It's got like sort of that graininess to it.
Yeah, you can't actually set the language to French. Never mind.
Wait, really?
Yeah, you can only do Spanish by the looks of it.
There you are.
That can't. Surely
It's probably
they
just the
sell this
region I'm
game
in.
in France.
It's probably just because of the region I'm in.
That's still wow. I guess screw anyone who speaks French and okay.
I don't know, man. Look at my non-matching stuff now.
I trust
Yeah.
you are not.
I mean, the thing about the monetization of stuff like Diablo Immortal is they know that there are people who think it's horrible. They want to be able to take advantage of the people who will engage with it
Effort indeed.
and be able to keep the people who would leave if it was brought to WoW. So just by having them in, like, okay, cool, we can make as much money off idiots with Diablo Immortal as we need to. It would actually be less profitable to do that everywhere because there is a sizable portion of people who would give us less money.
That's
I think
probably
it's a-
that's probably why similar to what they do with RuneScape. How more people play old school RuneScape than the current RuneScape 3.
Right.
But RuneScape 3 is where they put all the microtransactions.
Yeah.
Anyway, what was I? Oh, right. And for Diablo Immortal, did I ever post that one
simulator?
the simulator that see how much it takes to get 5-star gems?
Yeah.
How many gotcha
it explains
pulls?
What was it? Was it 500,000? It was like the guy who did actually spend all that money.
Oh my god, someone actually... Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, because I think that's when you first posted I was saying there was a story about a guy who spent so much money that matchmaking couldn't find him, like it was like supposed to...
Because he was so powerful.
Yeah.
That is not what we call... It's not only is it predatory game design, it's just bad game design.
It's like... They put out a statement saying, like, we've heard complaints of some players being unable to find matches due to this. It's like, really? Is it more than the one guy? Or is it this one guy gave you so much money that you kind of have to, like, address it, but you don't want to admit that? So, what's going on here?
Meanwhile, Venari's dialogue. And what's this? A transportation device of some kind. We should test it immediately. By we, of course I mean you. I love Venari. He's so funny.
Yeah.
You were
This,
transferred.
I don't...
Venari?
As far as I know, oh my god. Are you supposed to be following this slowly, or is that like a frame rate thing?
I had a slow fall buff on, apparently.
Oh, okay, alright. That kind of makes it worse, I think. I mean, honestly, at this rate, I think a lot of it depends on what happens to Blizzard as a company as a whole, whether any of their stuff lasts more than another year or so.
Yes. This projection device is already proving useful.
Oh,
Now, about that travel attempt.
2 of her.
Two of her.
Do try again.
How is the projection talking but not the real one?
Limitless.
Concerning.
You know,
Aha,
called
now I'm
ventriloquism.
Find anything of interest?
It is as if I'm right there with you exploring, with no risk to me. Why can't I get one of those? How fortuitous! You just happened to be transferred to a location in which I have a certain interest. Really? I'm sure the fact that you just said you were modifying the coordinates yourself has nothing to do with this.
Complete coincidence.
Complete coincidence!
Do not look for discrete locations that are near creatures of interest, but not in plain sight of them.
At least she gave me Harry Potter invisibility cloak.
I feel like we should go back to saying it's like invisibility like the One Ring gives you or something.
Fair enough, yeah.
But
Did you hear about the latest book?
the book? Yeah.
I am receiving.
I did not realize. I kind of thought after she went full mask off, she stopped using the Robert Galbraith pen name. But I guess those are still going.
No. I mean, she clearly lacks self-awareness at this point.
No, and obviously now all the problematic stuff is like really hard to like not be hyper aware of. But like I feel like Harry Potter was at least largely enjoyable. I read before all this sort of stuff came up the first couple
But still
of her Corbin Strike books, and they weren't good. They were very bad anyway. She's not actually a good writer. It was entirely like the concepts that
I
enjoyed,
still
think.
do think it's very funny that she just writes a book full of fake mean tweets directed at her.
Yeah.
Sorry, not at her original character who is not a self-insert.
Yeah. No, that's like very...
Who just happens to be getting bullied for having the same views as her.
I feel like... I guess not psychologists, sociologists maybe are going to have like a field day with this.
Interesting. Are those glittering objects feathers?
Like just like as like a glimpse into the mind of like, let's look at what actually like the, you know, proportion of tweets that are sent towards Rowling, and then here is her generating what she perceives it to be, and all of this is like an insight into narcissists.
Perfect. Their secrets will soon be mine. Pardon me. I meant to say ours.
Sure you did. I think you meant to say mine, and then you meant to remind yourself you should say ours so that we wouldn't be suspicious. And
Don't
then
be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. I do think it's funny that just she is so openly suspicious, and yet she is one of the most trustworthy characters in the expansion.
Yeah, it's always a fun character. There's the character in an episode of Star Trek Lower Decks that is like constantly like doing this like really like, you know, maniacal evil villain laugh, and is very like shady, and his ship is like
it's like, oh, I have a condition
and everything. And it's just like, no, that's just like how my species laughs. He turns out to be like completely fine. The ship is super creepy, but is actually just like an ambulance.
Anyway, hey, Valkyr from Valkyr of Odin from Legion, a better expansion. I mean, no, wait, no, that was right. Such violence.
Violence. Azeroth's #1 export.
True. Second export is vendor trash.
Oh, I was just,
Wish I could keep this cloak.
I was reminded, we were talking about how it was weird that the afterlife, like, so much stuff was from Azeroth as opposed to anywhere else. And I was just, that reminded me of the new Thor movie finally coming to streaming, and when they go to the place with all the gods, I was happy that it seemed like actually they did think to like, oh, this should not just be Earth gods, and most of them were like weird alien things.
You really think you'd escaped my notice? So naive.
Technically, most of the stuff in Shadowlands is generic, non-affiliated. You'd think there'd be more from Azeroth, really.
Your defiance is meaningless. I already have what I need.
But like none of it's alien, except for those tree guys.
Yeah. And those guys are native to the Shadowlands.
Oh, are they? I thought that you said they were from some other place.
Nope, they're native to the Shadowlands.
Okay.
Now bear this message back to your master, little bird. May it taste like ashes in his throat. Skyja, see them out!
Hold tight, friend.
Get out of here. Nothing escapes them all unless they give us a direct escort.
Nothing escapes the maw. Thousand escapes the Scala is
How did we even get here?
Should not be counted.
This is back on Azeroth. How did we fly through the hole in the sky? Is that what? How did we get here?
How did we get here?
Oh, we've got the we've got the warrior class symbol quest label from Legion. That's funny because this is the warrior hall. How appropriate. Either that or that's Corthia. One or the other.
May Odin's grace give you strength.
Because it looks like these guys' shields, but I'm a goat now.
Statistical outlier.
I bring before you this mortal, the Mawwalker, whose banner freed
Hi Odin, remember me? I didn't pick up an artifact.
Welcome to my halls, noble one. Danica, tell me of this victory and the foe that would dare imprison one
Odin
of
doesn't
my
recognize me, I guess.
I mean, you are a goat.
Fair enough.
Who serve Helya.
I will
Only
twist
I
every
survive.
Valkyr you send
We
Odin.
come back.
He turned back to normal form and was like, "You."
I betrays them all. Such sweet irony.
Yes? By my beard, Helya will answer for this.
So I'm not familiar enough with Warcraft lore. Do they have the rest of the Norse pantheon with Y's randomly thrown in their names, or just
Kinda.
Odin and Helya?
Some of them. Let me pull up the list of the watchers or keepers or whatever. Oh, keepers.
How do you add an extra Y to tier?
Yeah. Let's see. Let's see. There's Arcadis, Freya, Hodir, Loken, Mimeron, Odin, Ra, Thorim, and Tyr.
Is tier just spelled like the Norse, or is it somehow
TYR.
does it have? Okay.
You're not gonna question Ra?
I was gonna circle back to it, but I just sort of felt like, well, I don't know, man. I was talking to.
Last of Helya's treachery.
So I was talking to some folks on a Magic the Gathering Discord server about how, like, March of the Machine is, you know, a big crossover event thing, like, from comic books, and its logo is kind of comic booky, and people were talking about how, like, a lot of people were complaining, like, oh, are they just copying Marvel? And it's like, okay, well, is no one gonna, like, point out Marvel's copying, you know, ancient, like, it's all like, look, oh, a story where basic conflict happens, or people is like, no, this is all around forever and everything. And we were talking about, like, you know, sort of, no one complains if someone did like a new version of the Odyssey, or of, you know, Hercules' tasks, or you know, even like various Shakespeare plays and stuff and everything. But if someone does something anywhere close to Infinity War or Crisis on Infinite Earths, everyone's like, oh, they're just copying this thing. And I pitched the idea that there should be. Okay, do you know what Secret Wars, the original Secret Wars, is from Marvel? Is that,
I've
are you familiar
heard
with that at
the
all?
name, but I don't know the premise.
So there have been a couple secret, like, arcs called Secret Wars because they recycled the name, and one of the times it didn't really. One of the times it really was like, wow, you're just recycling this name. This has nothing to do with it. The other time it actually was like, oh, this is sort of the same
This arc
idea.
again.
That it makes sense. Yeah. But the more recent Secret Wars was that basically Marvel doing kind of a Crisis on Infinite Earth thing, by means of doing the same kind of story they did for the first one. The first Secret Wars was this. I don't remember what being. Some being kidnaps all the heroes. I think it was Beyonder. It teleports them to Battle World, which is, you know, like pocket reality or planet or something that was, made as this sort of arena and basically wants to like Hunger Games all, the mightiest heroes of Earth or whatever.
An online content creator.
In fact, this is actually where Spider-Man first ran into the Venom symbiote, or found the black suit. Yeah, the 90s, I think Spider-Man did do Secret Wars. I don't remember if they called it Secret Wars in the cartoon or not. But yeah, so I was pitching like, what if, I think there should be a thing where all the pantheons of various Earth mythologies are kidnapped by an elder god and forced to fight on a battle world. And then at the end, the twist is that they never escape the battle world. They break off into factions and take over various parts of it. And it turns out that the whole thing took place in the distant past, and the battle world eventually went on to be Earth, and that's why you have conflicting mythologies. Because none of them were actually native to here. They were all brought here and then
that's fun.
Never left. I just thought that'd be a cool idea.
And then you could really mix things up by adding a couple of extra gods to each pantheon that get slain.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember hearing about this one, and then they die, and they're like, oh, that's why.
Some really awkward stuff happened with the Canaanite pantheon. We won't talk about that. Like, yeah, one of their own killed all of the rest of the pantheon. It was wild. Started telling everyone to not worship any of the others, including his wife. Fucked up.
Have this horde.
May your battles be glorious. Remember,
I'm ready to bear witness.
Anyway, then the newer Secret War was the battle world was made up of like chunks of all the different Earths from Marvel, because they all got destroyed, and the Illuminati had a thing to try to like keep reality intact, but then Doctor Doom was evil, because of course.
Remember when Doctor Doom was Iron Man?
the wrath of Odin, and embody my
I only know about this because of Gwenpool.
my rage.
Yeah, that did happen, didn't it?
And Gwenpool was like, it's only a matter of time until he becomes evil again.
Yeah, no,
And he's
I
like,
think
rude!
it's generally accepted, yeah.
Yeah. And then he did, I'm pretty sure.
He did, yeah.
Yeah. But at the time he was like, wow, rude?
You brought valor.
Too genre savvy.
May your battles be
I mean, I think, generally speaking, the thing is that, like, Doctor Doom fairly rarely is evil for evil's sake. He is very much in sort of the category of, like, he's doing what he thinks is good, and that happens to not be good for a lot of other people.
Alright, time
But
to
it's
jump.
good for, oh my god, what the fuck is the name of his country that he rules? I'm completely blanking. Latveria?
Well, if there's anything I've
Latvia,
learned
that's
from
a
the
real
MCU,
country.
the only fictional country is Wakanda. There are no
It's
other
Sokovia.
countries.
Sokovia, right?
Oh yeah, I forgot about Sokovia. How did I jump to Orbos from Skyhold? That makes no sense.
I think, and then like, I mean, Black Panther 2 will have Atlantis.
Oh. I still miss Chadwick Boseman.
Are there no other fictional countries that have shown up in the MCU?
I don't know, I haven't seen every movie.
I mean, fair at this point.
It's kind of a lot of them.
We've been visiting
What an admirable
Norway more
specific
often, obviously.
question, the answer to which I can only hypothesize.
I just love that line from Venari. What an admirably specific question.
All
Yeah,
mysteries will be revealed.
Venari is so fun.
Discover more.
Oh, I owe her again, do I?
Talk.
Time to drain some rage and get some tears.
Gorgoa flows through the mall.
Yeah, Latveria.
Delivering damned souls to their fate.
With its capital of Doomstadt. Man, I hope Disney gets somehow broken up as a monopoly and
Yeah.
not allowed to own everything.
And Nestle.
Nestle, yeah. Really, hopefully all of them do.
Yep.
Um,
Supposedly there are laws about this, except for when they don't
Yeah, they
apply,
just-
I guess.
really, yeah. Disney is starting their own trading card game to compete with Magic.
Oh, of course.
And everyone has jumped ahead to assuming that they'll decide to buy out Hasbro and just make Magic instead. I'm just like, I don't actually think that that's practical for them. But thanks for, like, giving me another thing to worry about, jeez. My take on it is that they hired actually competent people to make the game, but they're gonna be like angry when like the most popular card is some bit character and not Mickey Mouse. Insist that the next set has a stronger Mickey Mouse, and completely ruin competitive because they can't accept that like their iconic characters aren't the best ones.
I summoned Sora in attack mode.
It like, and that's the other thing. Like, you would actually think like just doing Kingdom Hearts for a way to connect all of their various properties would be probably the best option. And again, the people they actually hired to do the lore and stuff for this are very competent people who have worked on other games before, and I greatly admire. But it seems like what they've settled on is you play as someone who has access to the Disney Vault, and you summon things from the Disney Vault for a limited time only.
Oh God, really?
So I'm replacing the names that they have changed them to what they it very obviously is. It's not the Disney Vault. It's the Great Illuminary. It was like, okay, but it's a repository where all the Disney stories, as though being owned by Disney was some like inherent quality to a fiction, like are magically recorded, and you bring them to life. And it's just like, okay, I have a question. Hey, what happens if? And I know Disney that you think this is unthinkable, but what happens if something stops being owned by Disney? Does it leave the Great Illuminary? Is it still there? Are all those cards banned? You know, like
That's kind of a funny notion. We can't reprint this card because we lost the rights to it.
Yeah. So it's like, and they revealed like a couple of the cards, and again, like it looks fairly well designed and everything, but it's just like, cool. I
don't want this.
I'll stick with Magic, thanks. Like the head, like it's like literally like the head of like creative text and narrative for it is a guy who used to work for Magic and whose work I really, really do love. But
I activate the spell card Fast Pass, which lets me play this card earlier.
no, there was actually he shared one on Twitter. It was a Mickey Mouse card that he said, like, I spent an entire workday on this flavor text. And it was a Mickey Mouse that was, like, tailor themed, right? Like, clothes making. And I don't know, like, the context of this from, you know, whatever animation it's from or whatever. But the flavor text did manage to fit in like an unreasonable number of like fabric puns.
I think the best trading card game is Twilight Sparkle's Secret Ship Fic Folder.
I remember that.
I wonder if they're still they even still make that.
I don't know. Every once in a while, I'll still see My Little Pony stuff, and be like, "Oh yeah, that wasn't that. Oh god, that was so long ago. How did time stop?"
I'm still thinking about the movie that started Gen 5 being referred to as the pony racism movie.
I never got around to exposing myself to that.
I don't intend to.
No, I think that's there's like, oh, I could make fun of it. No, you know what? Let's just not. I have better things to do.
And it just like,
Yeah.
if you're gonna make it a shared universe, like, I don't know, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. That like, yeah, okay, so the characters from the original series have been forgotten to just legend, and all of the messages they preached about friendship and stuff are all gone. They leave practically nothing behind. Their legacies are dead. Cool. Why is this the same continuity then?
Well, you know, over a long enough period of time, that's true of anyone.
Yeah, but it's like, bro.
Important to teach the kids.
It's like, that's so depressing.
No, absolutely, it's horrible.
Everything they ever fought for is now worthless. It's like, great job, you've established the setting and you've already made me angry.
Yeah. Yeah, I put the card I was talking about from the Disney thing in the live board.
I trust you are not followed. I will detain you no longer.
Oh boy, here we go. So I've mentioned before that in the Maw, there's this thing called the Eye of the Jailer, and as you do things, you get more and more negative effects. We are going to get rid of that.
Oh boy.
Do not draw the jailer's eye.
So in combination with the fact that we can now mount in here, this was Blizzard's attempt to make the Maw less awful.
Oh, it seems somehow they screwed it up and it's actually more awful.
I mean, it's fine, it's just there's not really much reason to be here anymore.
Mm.
And now it's just unpleasant instead of horrible.
We hear the call of Ilskahor, Walker. The eye will be compelled to focus upon us. Prepare for glorious battle.
We're making so much progress. Almost as if this thing is a raid boss or something in this patch.
Well, time to solo the raid boss.
Sure, yeah, definitely.
Using a Guitar Hero controller with your feet.
Hey, I remember someone I got a hair in my mouth. I remember someone who, back in Warlords of Draenor, leveled from level 1 to level 100, using only a dance pad as the controller.
Yeah.
Like DDR.
Those are always... That's what I was like, Guitar Hero controller with feet. What other stupid, like, challenges have people done for
I think
these?
this person also did several simultaneous Nuzlocke with several different Pokemon games with the same controller inputs.
That's very impressive. What was it? Someone did something where they made a controller out of something that really should not have been a controller at all.
But can it
What was
run
it?
Doom?
No, I mean it was literally like some kind of slime that had like capacitive. I can't remember.
What are we really other than different forms of slime and different
It's
states
true.
of being?
It's true. Return to slime. Differentiated cell components were a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
The eye is vulnerable. Strike swiftly, sisters.
Why'd I put my weapon away?
For Odin!
I sheathed it. Why'd I do that?
So they didn't have to animate it.
This thing's like, why you bullying me?
Our enemy!
Why?
After it, sisters!
I'm gonna go be a raid boss.
The eye retreats to its master's side. Your part in this is done, Walker. Come. Are you worthy of Odin's gaze? Glory to you on the battlefield.
Here we go.
Fortune or fate brought you to me, Walker. I do not know which. No matter. Together, we have battled a mighty foe. My sisters are avenged. Helia may still scheme and plot, but at least she has been deprived of the eye.
That's what it was. It was capacitive wires plugged into raw meat
I expect your allies will
with different chunks of meat
will embolden their advantage.
corresponding to different buttons.
Have my thanks for
Love
all you
that.
have done. Your deeds will be sung in Odin's great mead hall. All will know of your steadfast courage.
Use it to play Super Meat Boy.
Dark Souls.
I just think that Super Meat Boy would be on brand, you know?
Oh wait, it looks like someone did also do this with Super Meat Boy.
Play meat with meat.
Yep. No, I'm looking at it right now. They've carved hamburger patties into the various button shapes and plugged some wires into them, and they're playing Super Meat Boy.
Virus is a
Horrible.
traitor. I will slay him and avenge
There is
Margrave.
much to be done.
I look forward to seeing Maldraxi forces in action, Baroness.
There is something strangely.
Oh, Kyrian meeting a Valkyr, yeah.
And you as well.
Oh, weird.
When he peered beyond the veil, Odin spoke of winged beings who bore mortal souls to their eternal rest.
When you meet your
I'll speak with you more on this matter.
your copyright infringement.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Perhaps once the duties before us have been fulfilled.
So in universe, the Valkyr are based on the Kyrians, hence the Kyr part of the name. And of course, in
Yeah.
out of universe, it's the reverse.
Yeah.
Kyrians are based on the Valkyr. Which means it is the second time they've retconned what spirit healers are. AKA the little things that show up in graveyards when
Yeah.
you die and bring you back. In Wrath of the Lich King, they're like, actually, the spirit healers are renegade Valkyr. And now they're like, actually, the spirit healers are really Kyrians. That's why they're blue.
Very, very excited for the next retcon.
Right. Actually, they're dragons.
That'd be fun if just every expansion They
I mean,
they retconned it to something new.
there was a dragon that was in love with a spirit healer. So
Perfect.
I will meet you and our friend up ahead, Mallwalker. Purpose guide us.
Secure medics. Gather your forces. Secure the vault exterior until the Mallwalker arrives with Tal Galan.
Alright, now we can finally do that assault thing in the maw. Let's do with that.
But what about the pepper?
Say again?
My brain parsed assault as a base salt. And so I was like, well, what about the pepper?
The pepper. The peebo. I think we need to get Boots on camera at some point. He's just a little guy. It's very cute. He will like when my dad is lying in bed, he'll just like jump up on my dad's stomach and just start kneading him for several minutes on end while purring very loudly.
That's cute. Arcana has started scratching at my bed in the morning to tell me that she's hungry, and I don't appreciate it, but I don't really know what to do. If she'll hop up onto the bed, and I'll be like, oh, hello, and then she'll immediately hop off and start scratching. I'm like, no, you could stay. Alright, fine.
Sad.
Let's get you your tunas.
Ooh, tuna. Cat likes fish.
Tuna I use as a synecdoche for any cat food.
Yeah, we tend to
so
give pate flavor stuff to Boots. He's picky.
Yeah, Arcana didn't like the pate, so I have switched to shreds. She just would not she would kind of eat some of it, but so little of it that I kind of thought she was sick, and they were out of the pate, and I'm like, oh, I guess I'll get shreds, and suddenly she ate it all. It's like, oh, there you go.
I want to share one time that we had some rotisserie chicken, and so my dad cut off a little piece and put it in front of Boots, and so he was like, sniff, sniff, what's this? Slap, 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 slap. Eventually he did eat it, but my dad commented, how do you survive for so long outside?
My oath is to
By choosing violence, clearly.
Your prey awaits, Mallwalker. Good hunting.
Oh, that's a big upgrade
Night
trinket.
embracer.
Is there something you wish to ask?
Slap at the chicken.
There's no time to lose. There's no time to lose.
1-800 are you slapping chicken?
Right forth. We strike at the heart of this encroaching darkness.
You will clearly have need of my sorceress expertise.
I like how Margrave Sindane is here because, again, if we didn't do the Necrolord assault, we're just like, wait, weren't you a bad guy? Why are you on our side now? When did that happen?
Off screen.
Mm-hmm. Rescue the cat boy. Oh, I need to put these souls into a sword. What am I, the Lich King? Oh, but it's fine, these guys are consenting, apparently. They're willing souls, you see.
Important to get consent before trapping a soul eternally into an artifact.
Yeah, apparently so. These guys are cool with it, I guess.
Are they allowed to leave the sword if they change their mind?
No, this obliterates them.
Oh.
This is just like the, yes, end my suffering.
You know, fair.
I mean, when you're trapped for who knows how long in a realm of eternal torment and torture, maybe you'll take the out. Get in the sword. Get in the basket. Nope, that's out of zone.
You're out of zone. You're out of zone. This whole zone is out of zone.
And detected. I'd recognize that body shape anywhere. That's a panda girl. AKA the ideal body shape. This is what peak performance looks like, etc.
Yep.
Getting the sword. They call it the sword. Off you go. Hello? Wilf? Oh, that's her thing I'm not gonna do.
Oh?
Yeah, there was a whole thing, cool quest line to make a mount, which I haven't even finished on my main. It's long and complicated and requires a lot of gathering stuff. Its whole gimmick was that it was a mount you can use in the Maw. Wow! But now that I can use any mount in the Maw, it's less.
You're telling me I can do all this hard work and get nothing? Oh, wow, that sounds like a
nothing.
great
I
deal.
get +1 mount.
Yeah, but you have a mount.
I just would rather do that on my main, where I'm already like halfway through of the process.
Yeah. Why do something once when you can do it twice for half the reward?
That's definitely something to consider, I guess.
Or does it only unlock on the character?
No, it's account
can
wide.
you transfer them out? Yeah,
It's
okay.
account wide.
Alright,
There's
why,
no
okay,
reason to do
okay,
it multiple
fine.
times, which is why
Yeah,
I
why do something? Yeah, why do something twice when you can, or once when you can do it twice for the reward of doing it once?
Don't steal my essence, Crucible Magus. You're gonna make me sound like that one guy from Doctor Strangelove. You can't fight in here, this is the war room. You've seen that movie, right?
Oh god, not for a long time.
I mean, me either, but... I'd probably appreciate it more now than when I originally watched it, but...
Yeah. I mean, like, sir, my position is either I'll appreciate it more, or it will be too, like...
Too depressing?
Oh, this is just watching the news.
Yeah. Kill. You good?
Yeah, I am still adapting to having a lot of schoolwork, and my sleep is not catching up.
You've got the sleepy tireds.
Yeah,
That's the official name.
indeed.
It's a condition.
It is a condition, that much is
Status
true.
effect.
Yeah. Status effect reads, you cannot gain any benefits from a long rest.
Ooh.
Cured by long rest. Wait a minute, but I can't get any benefit from a long rest. That's correct. Does that include being cured of the status effect that is preventing me from... Yes. So it can't be cured? Exactly. Cool, great, amazing. Love that. Have you tried taking a super long rest? Oh, I would, but I have a paper that's due next week. Oh, well. The good news is, for some reason...
Hi!
Whoa.
Get stolen by
I
bees!
My brain failed to parse that anything had actually picked them up, and I thought they were just like Team Rocket blasting off again.
I don't know which is better.
For some reason, my grad school program does have like a full summer vacation length break between the fall and spring semesters. Like, we get basically all of, like, half of no, I don't think half of November. I think we get, like, all of December and January off, which is, like, more than,
Dang.
I think, most programs do.
Is this guy also getting stolen? Yes, he's getting stolen by bees!
Amazing. That's great.
Bye!
This is going to be... I'm very excited for the, me reaping, or me sowing, and we see all these guys getting carried off by bees, and I'm very excited for me reaping where we get carried off by bees.
Like, this is some really interesting beathon lore, let me tell you.
Absolutely.
At the end of the next beathon, you get carried off by bees. Goodbye.
I need to renew my subscription to the special effects software. Alright, how much does a harness cost for, like, aerial stunts?
Just like paint some drones with like yellow and black stripes.
Oh god. $500 for a harness? Yeah, no, we're not doing that.
Oh, it depends on the type of harness you're after, I guess.
Well, it's for aerial stunts. Screw that, I'll just get some rope.
I don't remember if you were here when I last discovered these. So you see these mending moths here. How do you suspect one would use a mending
Oh,
moth?
you eat them.
Oh yeah. Oh, you were here for that, were you?
Yeah. It's fucked up.
I can't even reach them. They're out of reach. They're safe. They're hiding from me.
They know you're gonna eat them.
They know I'm gonna eat them. Why is it eat?
I don't know. I mean, do you eat? Are we sure you eat the whole thing? Like, could you maybe like lick them like a poisonous hallucinogenic frog?
Maybe? I don't know. I wasn't prepared to answer that question.
You see that bird that's got the toxins like a frog does?
I don't think so.
I discovered
I did see some good pictures of nightjars.
Of them being grasped firmly.
Yes.
Yes.
Them going.
No. Yeah. No. So yeah. No. This was also on Tumblr. They found a bird, and it's a clip from someone took it from Twitter of them like holding it in their hand, like their bare hand, and like moving their hand around so that they're basically handling this bird like someone doing a knife trick. And it's like, we've discovered this bird. It is the first known like poisonous bird, similar to frogs. It's got this toxin. Also, if you lick your fingers after touching it, your tongue will go numb.
This bird is not finger licking good.
Yeah, and someone was like, "So you like totally you touched your face after handling the bird, huh?" Like, oh, absolutely.
Epic.
For Queen and Grove.
The forest sings your praise.
I'll just get a pop up that says epic.
What vile horror is this?
It's the maw.
I know this
Maw.
Oh no, spears.
Don't worry, Mawwalker. I have you. Darkness awaits you.
You should have done that for all of us, not just for me. Oh well. Now I have to rescue everybody.
Stay close. The Mossworn are looking for us. Quick.
The hooded
So we can sneak past.
Pitohui.
Now let's move before it fool them. If we get caught, the blinding dust can help us escape.
The Wild Hunt welcomes you. A clever trick, Lady Moonberry. You have my thanks.
Look over there.
Over where? Oh, over there.
something to hit.
That's a good thing that has a 4-second cooldown. Jesus. That's forgiving. If you get caught, no you didn't.
Lurks nearby, but not for long.
The gay horse from before in our campaign quest.
Have you found the others? I will leave no one behind.
Yeah, we're literally all here. You can see that.
Distracted trying to find the tweet where the ornithologist admitted that he accidentally poisoned his own tongue, but I can't find it.
That tracks. Can you get down here and fight me in melee range, please? Thank you. Wow, this is a really compelling fight so far. There we go. Now
Everyone's just standing there.
you guys
Shouldn't
want
they
to
be
help?
helping you? Like, are they supposed to be? Is this bugged, or are they actually just
There
like...
we go. Now they're helping.
Okay, there we go. Okay, yeah. But yeah, they were absolutely just like
Following
standing
me.
completely.
Yeah.
They were doing what I was doing. They were like distracted by something on their phone while
Yeah,
you were.
they were checking their shadow phones.
Yeah. I think there would be something very like there would be a very important message if you're in a fantasy world and then you die and you reach the afterlife and they have the internet. Like this, no, it's weird. This never existed. While I was alive. Yeah, no, it's a hell original.
They only have reruns of The Good Place.
It could be worse. That's like I feel like that's a very medium place thing. It's like it's only reruns, but it's of The Good Place.
It just seems thematically appropriate. Or any like, they also have like Dead Like Me. They have other things set in the afterlife. Probably.
Yeah.
I can't think of any off the top of my head.
I think it'd be very funny if like it's all these shows that are all set in the afterlife or have to do with the afterlife or everything. And then there's like one show that like doesn't seem to be set in the afterlife, but its inclusion makes you like really think like, wait a minute.
It's Pokemon.
Oh
my god, well, the theory's true! How did these trees grow with no water?
They don't appear to.
Alright, this is the afterlife. These are dead trees.
What news?
These are trees that have died.
Like they appear to have like chunks missing and like, I don't know, anima or something flowing like to like keep it connected, so.
Again, anima.
Jailer, find us. Some secret.
It was the live stream from Final Fantasy VII. Some streamer described as thick wet.
Wet.
Yeah. Thick wet.
Big wet. As far as Final Fantasy is concerned, I always love just looking at people doing blind LPs of Final Fantasy VII and just going to the Sephiroth fight, and what is their reaction to Supernova? Like seeing it for the first time, not knowing it's coming.
Need something forged? You do the fighting, I'll do the fixing.
It's like, what do you mean there's a cutscene in the middle of the fight? What do you mean reality, the solar system's being obliterated?
Yeah, that's never really like... They've never really actually went back to address the fact of what that implies, I don't think. Despite...
The fact that the planets are like our planets
ours,
also...
Exactly, it's like that doesn't really
hold
sense.
on.
Right, like that's like, oh, Earth. Well, wait a minute, that doesn't actually...
We're on
on
Earth?
That's not... Weird.
This shouldn't take long to fix. Just make sure I don't get gutted by any wall sword.
Hero, you don't have any guts. You are a skeleton.
Start talking or start walking.
Oh my god, they're so small!
Ethereal guts.
Tiny men!
They're so small. Fuck that. There was for a while next to the like off ramp when I was coming home from really anywhere that I'm going to be going on the freeway for, there was, I mean, I think it's probably like a homeless camp or something, but they had in front of their tent for a while this like, just sort of standing in the grass by the off-ramp, this like slightly larger than like a Barbie doll type size, like little figure of a person standing, but like dressed in like just like dressed in like high quality enough clothing and like far enough away that when you're just driving by it, your brain does like take a second to parse that it wasn't just a very small person. And it like really messed me up. Like, I can't even tell you what, like very obviously, like, oh, obviously that's like, you see action figures and small representation of people. For some reason, this very briefly just really was like, this is actually, would that be so fucked up? What if someone was just that small? That would be so hard for them.
Anyway, shout out to that random mook from the Waves quest back there. Zalvez the Collector, who disappeared at 1 HP and was like, "You are fortunate when we next meet."
Will we be?
You'll just have to wait and find out.
Oh boy.
Still thinking about the music from Supernova, from One Winged Angel now.
That's so many fewer wings than angels are known to have. And also infinitely more.
This man is average sized.
Now I'm thinking of those, the same hype party, where they had all a bunch of like different like platform stilt type shoes of different heights.
Oh, the same height,
like,
the same height party, yeah.
That must, like, it seems like that's like one of those things where it's like, oh, that's a cool, I bet you like, it's actually really fucking weird though. Like, I bet you the difference in height is something that like we sort of tune out, but if it actually were to like go away, it would suddenly be like, oh, this is actually weird. Yeah.
And then someone shows up who's taller than the
oh, that would be you, yeah.
And then everyone's
like,
like,
I'm just thinking
like everyone has to change shoes now.
Yeah. Like, you know what the the trick to like cure a bunch of nausea in VR was to add in a nose. Right, because one of the things that you generally speaking are not aware that, you know, your nose is in your vision, but apparently the brain does somehow use it, even though it's sort of tuned out of your consciousness for some kind of orientation thing, and when in VR it generates a field of view that doesn't include it, that actually caused a bunch of the nausea problems that early VR ran into.
You are not one of them. Please, I need assistance. The Archivist must be rescued. All of our fates still blocked.
All of these guys can just follow me directly inside this illusion field just because they're aggroing onto me.
Or like, I guess the other thing I'm thinking of is like, you know, in film where you have to record, you know, room tone, because if it's actually just completely quiet at any point, that's weird.
Oh yeah. Reminds me of a Tumblr post talking about those like all completely soundproof rooms.
Yeah.
And it's like if you go here long enough, you will start to hear the sound of existing. And I'm like,
True,
thanks, I
done
hate it. I hate that choice of phrasing.
But it's true.
Welcome to the archive. Thank the purpose you are safe. To the interrogator.
Focus on recover the load. Fear not, Bossuet.
Haha. I'm so smart now I have 2 sets of quests in the same area.
Where did I go that had one of those rooms? Because I know I've been in one, but I don't remember what the, like... I don't remember why or when it was.
That's such a specific experience to have.
It was like there was some other thing I was there for, but they had that. It was like, it was like years ago, I think. For all I know, I don't think it was a dream. It definitely happened, but it was just like, somehow I can't pin it down.
I recently had a dream that I went back in time and became one of the original Power Rangers, and also the Power Rangers were real.
Do as the Arbiter commands.
Well, of course they are.
Horror.
But it was like it was a setting where there were only 3 Power Rangers originally. I became one of the, and then like somehow, like by the end of like our adventures, there was like 8 of us for like the equivalent of an IRL season 1, and we were the original 8. And then later we got 2 more for a total of 10. One of whom was...
that's a lot of seasons of Super Sentai.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And then there was like, there was like, of the last 2, there was like another Red Ranger. Like there's a second one. And then also there was a Rainbow Ranger.
So like you've not read the Power Ranger comics, I assume?
No.
Okay. It's because they actually did a thing of the original Power Ranger team and tied it in with a bunch of stuff where they had previously had the emissaries of the morphing grid, right, which is the energy, the force that took the form of a Red Ranger, a Blue Ranger, and a Yellow Ranger. And actually had the unspeakably cool and oh god, they could never do this on the show because like the effects budget would never allow for it and they could never quite do it, of like them constantly changing from like one version of that color to another team's costume sort of like fluidly and all at once to give you like the idea that like either they are like looping through them in a weird way, or maybe like they appear as this sort of like archetypical archetypal, I guess, concept of that color. And so when you look at it, you're like, well, I know it's this, but you can't like pick which one you're seeing because it was a very cool thing, and they eventually like went back and did a thing where it seemingly implied that the emissaries were maybe originally some of the like they originally were mortal and were part of the original team, except the original team had 6 people on it. And so the question is like, okay, what happened to the pink, green, and black ones? And I don't think it was ever like explicitly made clear it was the same thing, but they like sort of had the same effect of the, I don't know, the Power Ranger comics are very good.
I'm just thinking about that dream again. I think the second Red Ranger was like Big Red or something. He was like this big burly guy.
They've had second Red Rangers before. They just normally name the second Red one something that's not a color, or on one occasion crimson.
I think it was like the same shade of red, even.
Is the Quantum Rangers red the same as the Red Time Force Rangers red, or is it darker? I forget.
I think also the Dream's narrative contradicted
That is
itself.
the same
later,
red.
Where like where then later on I was the Rainbow Ranger instead of whatever I was before. And I was like asserting my superiority on some guy like Ranger Khan or whatever. Like, yeah, I'm the original Rainbow Ranger. I deserve this rainbow sigil or whatever more than you. Like, who do you think you are? There's also a bit where everybody got like go-karts or something, and I think I feel like the Blue Ranger got Rainbow Dash, and I was Princess Celestia's car for some reason. Look, it was incoherent. It was a dream.
Wait, can I find... Oh god, what team was he on? If it wasn't Go Ranger... It wasn't Jacka. What was the one between the two? No, it was Jacka. Okay. Find a clear picture of the...
It is now Power Rangers discussion, including someone who
Oh,
knows
buddy,
nothing
you
about
should
Power
not bring
Rangers.
up Power Rangers if you wanted us to get to any other topics.
Fighting and killing.
There, in live blog.
You know, I think in this case I was like Rainbow Dash colored, or like I was like one of those things where it's like opalescent, where it's like the outline was kind of like a bunch of different colors. If that makes sense, in a way that would only work in like a 2D medium.
Right. Oh, okay. They did, and they did confirm that, yeah, the original team did become the emissaries.
Does have some value, but it's not of use to us. This is it. Precisely what we need. Let us rendezvous near the Sanctuary of Guidance.
They announced that for the first time since the original, like, Zordon era, we're going to be, like, keeping the same, like, actors and characters over more than one, like, series for Power Rangers.
Whoa.
And it's just like, wow, it took you this long to realize people wanted coherency in their, like, okay, it's one of those things like, it still doesn't help that we are now, it's like, cool, this next season that's going to continue these characters takes place in present day, yes? Yeah, in what you claim to be the main Power Rangers continuity, yes? Yes. Cool. Present day in the main Power Rangers continuity. So when it airs, 2025 in the main Power Rangers continuity, yes. Cool, great. We already have a season that takes place that year. It's Power Rangers SPD. The show better actually acknowledge that those events are happening and that aliens are like a common thing on Earth, so you don't have any characters going, oh, well, aliens, that's not real, which you did last season that took place in a year where, according to the history from SPD, already aliens should have been all around. If you don't want to be beholden to lore that is older than your target audience, that's fine, but then say so. Don't say that you are going to respect lore that old if you're not going to. I don't know why that's so hard.
This is what happens when long-running shows, are not made by the fans of that show, and instead made by people who were there for a paycheck.
There is a certain thing to be argued for, like, even if the folks working on it are fans, it is a little like there was definitely a period there where it wasn't, that kind of like pushed things off of the trail to the like. It's also, you know, there's maybe they should have never actually said what year Power Rangers SPD took place, and then we wouldn't have had to worry about this. But they did. Or they could say, oh, well, we had our big crisis thing in the comics and that pushed it back or something. But as far as I know, they've never really done that. But like in the original Saban, when the show started, we had sort of this progression where for the first, from like Mighty Morphin to Lost Galaxy, all the powers, right, were granted by some alien artifact, right? People were bestowed powers by space wizards and crystals and all these things, and it wasn't ever really a human thing. The turbo powers were like kind of maybe implied that Billy like helped Zordon develop or something, but they weren't. They were certainly still like, at least in part, this alien thing. And then right after the Zordon era of those original characters, when we first do cut to an entirely new cast after Lost Galaxy, it's that the Lightspeed organization has been contracted, presumably by like the government, to develop morphers, and we have the first team that is not chosen by some extraterrestrial or mystical power. It is a like paramilitary thing of, we're not going to hire teenagers, we're going to hire like the best in the fields of firefighting and aerial stunts and all we are going to have like people who have previous training and create an actual elite team, not teenagers with attitude. And like that actually is like explored as a thing, and they even then like sort of like do at least kind of like acknowledge the question of like, hey, is it actually a good thing if like this is just a thing that anyone can kind of do? They can like just make morphers. Is that something that should
Without being
happen?
the chosen one, TM?
Yeah. And they don't, really land anywhere on it other than, like there's an episode in that season where they're like, not only have we managed to develop morphers, we've managed to make robots that can serve the purpose of being a ranger. And not like later there are robot rangers who are like, oh, well, this is, a fully sentient person who happens to be made out of machinery. And that's not what this was. These were, these were like they were Power Ranger drones,
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's a bad thing. You do like need this like
morphing
human
time,
quote unquote, yeah. And then God, it wasn't the season right. Time Force wasn't right after that, was it? Maybe it was. I don't know. We like have Time Force where, by the year 3000, this is really standard. Peace has been, there's a perfect, it's this sort of weird, like, thing where there's this unfortunate dystopian eugenics type thing of like, yeah, humans and aliens have been at peace for a long time by the year 3000, but mutants are, this, but like, the main reason they bring that up is because they always want to drive home that, like, humanity is at peace with, like, all the aliens or whatever. And, everyone seemingly is, like, benefits from all this stuff. And then, we sort of slowly, by the time of, like, Operation Overdrive, or I guess, well, then we have, like, in Dino Thunder, which is actually after Disney bought Power Rangers, we have morphers made by a, not a highly funded government, billions of dollars type thing, but a very intelligent scientist in their basement with the help of a former ranger who already has a connection to the morphing grid. And then we get to SPD, which fast forwards to 2025 and basically shows like it is normal for law enforcement to have access to morpher technology. That's like the whichever, oh God, what was the name of this? It was so one time they like break naming convention for the city. The city has.
Wouldn't Cop Rangers all be the Blue Ranger?
So bear in mind, this was 2005, that the anti-cop mentality had not reached the point that it had, and it was also like they still even kind of made a point to be like, well, this isn't Earth police, this is space police, so we can like pretend it's not horribly corrupt. Yeah. And that's like when SPD has shown up in comics and stuff. I feel like there's been like a pretty deliberate point of like, this is not these it's a force that polices crime, but it isn't the police. And it's like, okay, well, it obviously is, but we'll ignore that for now. And fine, it's a fantasy world. Sure. The most fantastical thing is that this isn't somehow corrupted, whatever. But again, so it fast forwards to 2025 and says like, yes, by then this city has 3 teams of rangers on as to deal with alien crimes. And then we come back to the present, and Mystic Forest goes back to it's from a mystical source. And then with Operation Overdrive, it's okay. Now we've gone from this is something that only can be granted by extra normal forces to this is something that can be recreated with a military budget to this is something that can be recreated with enough prior knowledge of access to it and scientific know-how in a basement. And then we get to Operation Overdrive.
With a box of scraps.
Well, no, yeah, and so then we get to Operation Overdrive, where it is this is one rich guy who was able to finance and through and being an inventor himself was able to put together I'm going to essentially buy myself a team of rangers, and it's okay, this is getting increasingly. You sort of see this thing, you can see the charting the way towards that 2025, where this is really common stuff. And then the most notable and the last we kind of see of it is in Jungle Fury, where the explanation for how the mentor got the morphers to give to the team was he knows a guy. He got a link to the morphing grid off the black market.
I'm just thinking of in Superman Red Sun. I think there was the Green Lantern Corps where the government just made a bunch of Green Lantern rings.
I mean, that's also yes, but also that's also what the Green Lantern Corps was to begin with, actually.
Okay, I just know that they just manufactured it and gave it to the Air Force or something.
Yeah, no, that was obviously a mistake. It's one of those things where the Green Lanterns are another one of those things where it's they're space cops, but we kind of have to do everything we can to avoid the fact that they're space cops, And so yeah, Jungle Fury is oh, wait a minute, someone can just get morphers off the black market now, on the budget of their mentor ran a pizza shop. He wasn't a billionaire. This is a major step towards that. And what really bothers me is we never got, even though there is a season of Super Sentai that has 2 rival teams, one themed around being cops and the other themed around being, like, thieves. We never got a thing where it gets to the point of morphers are so common that people will just have them, and you're going to have more than one team, and not everyone who has them is going to have the same idea of how to save the city or whatever, you know?
Sorry,
it just got kind of thrown out.
As an aside.
And stuff just... Sorry, go on.
Good boy. Goodest boy.
Goodest boy. And so then when we got back to this thing and they started saying, well, this takes place in the main continuity, and they even had a thing where, like, this takes place maybe in the future, but SPD isn't around, and everyone kind of talks about aliens like they don't know that they exist, even though it's been invaded 3 times now. And it's like, okay, well, what do you mean it's in canon? Why does, like...
Historical revisionism in universe. I don't know.
I asked the producer of the most recent season on Twitter about this. I'm like, hey, how is it that this park ranger is like, aliens, that's ridiculous if this is in the main continuity? And their excuse was like, well, you know, I mean, there are people who deny COVID. I'm like, okay, you know what, fair enough. How come all the other characters also act as though this is absurd, though? You know, that's weird. I'm sorry, I have very strong feelings about this.
Best boy.
Best? Is there bestest boy?
Nah, this is the cap. But does he need to go higher than... He's best boy.
Most goodest best boy. What do you mean, does he need to go higher? Of course. Don't you know how this works? It's like Super Saiyan levels.
Yeah, that was a stupid question.
Why would you need to go higher than Super Saiyan? What do you mean Super Saiyan 2?
And this is to go even further beyond.
Mostest, goodest, bestest boy. Mostest, goodest, bestest boy, God, Ultra Instinct.
Kaioken times 20. Blue.
Why does he need the animal? Such a tedious plan.
I still... Super Saiyan Blue is so dumb. I mean, it's a better name than Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, but... I mean, that's not much of a contest.
No. I have not read or watched any of Super, but I'm given to understand that, like, it has not done anything to address concerns regarding power level absurdity.
No. Goku beat a guy who was said to be stronger than than his universe's God of Destruction.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And then a guy wished to become the strongest in the universe. And then another guy wished to become the strongest in the universe, even stronger than that guy.
Ah, you've done it. You've distilled Dragon Ball down to its barest essentials.
And then Frieza showed up and was like, hi, I was in a hyperbolic time chamber for 10 years. And since you guys wished to be the strongest in the universe, I wasn't in the universe at the time, so I didn't get counted, so actually I'm stronger than you now. Frieza literally shows up, kills the main villain for that arc in one shot, shows off a new transformation, Black Frieza, and one-shots Goku and Vegeta into unconsciousness, decides that he's not going to kill them, then leaves.
Like, you could not You could not write a parody of Dragon Ball's like power logic more perfect than that.
They have found me.
Indeed, we have.
Surprise, Dreadlord.
Thank you for all your valuable assistance, mortal.
How many spies has the banished ones?
There's like plot happening or whatever, but who cares?
You can ask him yourself once we arrive in Torghast. He is quite eager.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cutscene, but it's a cutscene using in-game models, so can it really matter?
Oh, and make it
Yeah. This random guy gets kidnapped and he gets brainwashed and he's a raid boss also now.
That's one of those things where it's just like, oh, this has to do with a raid? Okay, well, I guess that's not gonna ever...
Well, we're not following up on that plot thread.
Like, okay, cool, I guess if the raid has an impact on the world at large, I'll hear about it when it's done.
Basically.
That's how I always interpret anything that is very clearly going to be a raid in Destiny, because I'm never going to manage to actually do a raid. Like, alright, you know that not everyone has 5 friends to get together and spend 6 hours doing this.
Yeah. I mean, this
so
at least
you're
is the
not going
group
to put
finder,
anything
but-
that important there.
At least there's a group finder here, but still. That requires doing the raid, which requires random people on the internet to be competent.
Yeah, that's the...
I will aid you as best I can.
Destiny was like very reluctant to have like matchmaking for raids because they were very insistent that it would be a bad idea to do it with people you don't know. I'm like, you know, that's a fair point, but also I think this is fairly common practice in MMOs where they'll have you beat the enemy once in not a raid, and then their raid encounter will be like, oh, by the way, they survived and now you have to do this. So that if you don't do the raid, you're like, oh, okay, I do still feel that I have gotten some form of narrative closure to this thing. For which the raid would have been like a bonus, rather than like, nope, you get no resolution. Sorry.
But yeah, they do a thing like as we saw previously last time.
We saw with the eye, right?
Yeah. We saw some cutscenes in the wrong order, but whatever.
Yeah. Again, that's also just an MMO thing, right? If you're gonna...
Yeah. That's how it be.
There was, I'm trying to think of the most succinct way to explain this. So Loading Ready Run did a thing where normally they have folks from the troop get together and do like a long-running board game, right? Like a legacy type thing. But then the pandemic happened and they had to find a digital thing to do, and somehow Destiny got picked as a thing, and they were going to just sort of go through it from the like new player experience through whatever, and there was a note fairly quickly on that like you get the introductory thing that was, you know, developed to introduce new players to the lore and everything, and then there's the tremendous time gap because of how content has changed over time, and characters talk to you as though you know a lot more than you feasibly would. It's like, as you know, the darkness is the enemy of the traveler. Like, oh, I didn't know that actually, because that wasn't brought up at any point in the new player experience. Tell me more. It's like, oh, okay, well, you're assuming I have knowledge that I don't, and then later they added in another new player thing. Try to, like, none of it. No one. Like, there's no way to know what you're supposed to do in order in the first place, and even if you do it in order, it still feels out of order.
Restore the archive.
I just want to mention that the new player experience for WoW is so bad right now, plot-wise.
No, I mean,
it puts you in this isolated island that you don't know anything about for Exile's Reach. It's just like, it has no bearing on any other plot. It's just some isolated mini-plot. And then it sends you to go do Battle of Azeroth in Kul Tiras or Zandalar, which was kicked off by the burning of Teldrassil, aka the whole thing that sent Sylvanas' path the way it is. The burning of Teldrassil, by the way, is no longer in the game.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Like,
where you have to,
come on.
No, it seems like this is just a thing
that... There was no context, like, oh no, this bad thing, Sylvanas, and everyone's like, who's Sylvanas? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean... I just think that's sort of a similar thing. I'm curious if there are any MMOs that don't have this problem at this point.
The funny thing is, Mists of Pandaria would be a much better opening expansion. Because it's so self-contained.
So, like, new players do not start in, like, their like, city or whatever anymore, like it was... with vanilla?
Yeah, no, there's a single starting zone now, Exile's Reach, which teaches you the basics and stuff. Like, you can still do the original starting areas, but new players have to do Exile's Reach in their first character. Other characters after that can then be their own default starting zones or Exile's Reach. You also have to do Battle of Azeroth your first playthrough as your 1 to 50.
Well, that sounds particularly stupid, frankly.
Because they have Chromie Time, which is pick your expansion from 10 to 50, but that's only for people who've reached level 50 on at least one character before.
And so you can pick after you've done the shitty one.
Yes.
Which I assume I assume the reason for this is that Blizzard doesn't realize it's the shitty one.
Yep. It also kicks you out once you hit level 50, regardless of where you are in the quest line. And you cannot go back into Chromie Time level sync from 50 to 60 or beyond. Like,
that's not a good design. No wonder Final Fantasy XIV is doing so well.
Right? Like, you literally get 1 minute of, like, the future of Azeroth needs you, and a 1 minute countdown until you're teleported to Stormwind.
That's so stupid.
And, like, you can still go back to those zones and do the quests, it just won't scale to you anymore. It'll all be low-level stuff.
Right. That's weird.
Yeah.
I wonder how Guild Wars is doing.
Oh, nice! My guy found a treasure on the top of a mountain. Thanks. Thank you so much.
Enlightenment.
I don't know what I would have done without that. So who all is in chat right now? Anyone still here? Y'all have been pretty quiet, if so. Or is it just me and Jason hours right now?
I don't see anyone in chat.
Yeah, it might just be us. That's okay.
It says there's like people here, but maybe they're just lurking or whatever. I don't want to like.
And it could also be like bots and stuff.
Oh, at least one of these is a bot, I think.
Yeah. Well, they stay healthy, bot.
Exactly. That was the joke.
True, no.
I don't want to accuse. I'm not gonna accuse any. Even if a name did seem bot-like, which I don't actually think any. This Chaos Jason guy.
This Jason guy seems real suspicious.
Yeah.
It's not a real name. That's a file extension.
It can't possibly be real. What kind of idiot would use the real name on the internet?
Right, exactly. Besides, JSON is a file extension, not a name.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on .json files?
I don't know. I had to edit some to make that bot to create new chapters of terrible fanfic.
Ah, yes. I remember that.
Before we found out there was actually a season 2.
And a
was
season 3
arguably
and a
more
season
coherent.
4 and a season 5.
Wait, what? Really? Did we?
Of Dueling
are there
Drama Watch?
5?
Yeah, there's like several.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Yeah, no, there's like 5 seasons of Dueling Drama Watch.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
It's the worst news I could have received.
And they're just as long, if not longer. It's like, oh no.
I was very tempted to bring it up in class the other day because we were talking about, you know, different perspectives and first person and third person limited, third person omniscient. I was very like.
How about just bring up?
Should I mention?
Should you mention first person omniscient?
Like, look, it's not good, but theoretically this does exist.
Yeah. It is a writing style.
It sure is. Theoretically, it probably could be done well.
It just wasn't.
It wasn't there, no. I mean, I think that it would be a very interesting way to actually write a telepath.
Oh. I mean, have you played 999?
No.
Oh, you should, because there's some I think even saying more than that's technically a spoiler.
Alright.
I can send you the ROM later. I mean, a completely legitimate and way to play it, of course.
Sure. Absolutely. Please do send me a perfectly legitimate and not at all pirated.
We don't condone piracy here.
No. Absolutely not.
That's what an outlaw rogue would do. And I am clearly a warrior.
No pirates here. Yar
honor.
Yeah.
Technically, there are updated re-releases of the game in ports. Like, I think there's like the Nonary Games collection or something where they actually added voice acting.
Mm.
But I still think the DS original is best, just because of the two. It was clearly made with 2 screens in mind as part of the plot. Even like it's literally part of the plot that the 2 screens is a thing.
Yeah.
And to the point where in original developer interviews from the day, they even said that they didn't think the game would work without 2 screens. So what does that tell you about the fact that there are ports to things that don't have 2 screens?
Mm-hmm.
Also, there was an iOS version at one point that removed all of the puzzles. It was just the visual novel parts. Which is an interesting choice. They also added an extra ending for no reason, which they didn't include in the other re-releases because it was basically added nothing. It was just a shorter version of a different ending earlier.
Weird.
Like, okay, I guess.
No, I think that having 2 screens was like legitimately a very good thing.
Yeah, but
And
that's also why.
does.
That's also why I always advocate people play The World Ends With You on the DS as well, because it would.
Yeah.
Like it makes so much more sense with 2 screens.
I wish there were like, I have no idea how you would do it, but like I wish there was. Like I wish the Switch had not gone back to just being one.
Yeah, you could have done stuff like that on the Wii U.
Well, I mean, honestly, one thing to do, and obviously it would not work if you wanted to play it handheld. But like one thing you could do is they could make a thing that you could plug the Switch into, where you could use.
Where your monitor is the top
console
screen and the
and
Switch screen is the bottom screen.
Yeah.
Basically, Wii U mode.
Yeah, like it seems like that would probably not be that hard to like make an accessory that does that, but you know, then that would be something that people would need to buy, and that would suck. And again, you couldn't do it. Or I guess the other way to do it would be like if you had a thing that you could put the Switch in, so you put the Joy-Cons on either side, or like on the top and bottom, so it was like in portrait orientation, and it just like artificially split it into 2 landscape screens, right?
Maybe, yeah.
You know, like how, like essentially how like if you emulate a DS game on your phone, it'll.
Oh yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
I never considered emulating a DS game on a phone, but that would actually make a lot of sense.
What?
Because it's
the only place I've ever done that.
Oh no, I mean I've never emulated a DS game because that's piracy. But if I did, I would have just done it on PC for ease of access.
Years ago, it was very, very, very easy to just download an Android ROM playing app. Not that I would know.
Right, of course.
But it was...
That's just something you heard.
Theoretically, much, much easier to do that than to actually, like, set everything up on a PC.
I mean, I've heard that there are DS emulators for a PC. They even let you flip the DS upside down.
Absolutely.
So I've been told. As you all remember, I did Random Pearl on original hardware.
Indeed. That was very impressive.
Yeah. I activated the secret randomizer mode that's present in all copies of Pokemon Pro for the DS.
Yeah. You know, more recent Pokemon games do actually have both versions on the on the cartridge or whatever.
Oh my god.
And it is actually just a code flag.
Wow.
Which one to... Yeah.
I wonder what happens if you enable both of them at once.
I think it crashes.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I don't know if it would crash, but like it's not. It's the same game, and there's a flag to tell which one it is. I think it is like there's 2 games on the thing, and which one the Switch launches.
I mean, I'd sure hope it doesn't have all the assets twice.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Because that would be
probably
incredibly
you
inefficient.
still It would be, although I do wonder if probably it would still fit. But I don't.
And then if you have... Because then if you owned both copies, would you have 4 of it? You would have each game twice?
I guess so, but again, it will only ever be able to launch one at a time.
So you just have like a superfluous copy of all the data?
Yeah. I don't know.
Like, because that feels like extremely disrespectful to all those people back in the day who had to crunch everything into a tiny cartridge and stuff, you know?
Well, they were gonna have 200 Pokemon originally, but then they could only fit 150.
Shoutouts to, I think it was Iwata who managed to fit Kanto into Gold and Silver.
Yeah, like that was like a huge thing. I also remember there being like a thing where they originally wanted to, and this is like an amazing idea for a game, but oh my god, if it had been what Pokemon did, like from the beginning, that would be horrible. But like now, hearing it as an alternative, like, oh, that'd be kind of a cool idea. Was like they wanted each copy to have like a different selection from a larger pool, and then they eventually had to like, we can't do that. We're gonna have 2 versions. Like, okay, some will be in some and some will be the other, but they wanted it to be like everyone's copy was a different version that had a different sampling from the total pool of Pokemon, and so you would have to trade to get them all.
Now, that could be interesting with online, like, wonder trading and stuff, but...
Yeah, but at the time, I mean, it's bad enough with, like... I mean, like, what that sounds like, in a lot of ways, is each full-priced video game would essentially be a booster pack.
Oh, God.
Right? It would be like, yeah, you get these 100 Pokemon out of probably, if they were going to do it that way, they would probably have started with a lot more. And you gotta trade with other, like, it almost would work better than how booster, like, because the idea that, you know, Richard Garfield had for Magic the Gathering was that the internet was not existent in the way that it would very quickly become after release. He didn't think people would buy tons and tons of packs. He legitimately, his idea was, you would buy, you know, a starter and a couple packs, and chances are, in your play group, no one would have the same, like, no one would have the same cards, no one would have any idea what other cards existed. Rarity was never meant to originally be, like, a thing about power level. It was a thing about, like, how weird a card was allowed to be, basically. Right, so that you would get these weird things, and when you play with someone you didn't know, you could basically have what it is in like the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, where it seems like no one's ever fucking heard of
every card,
any of the cards in their opponent's deck, right? And that was the whole thing. Yeah, no,
like
people
the only
have
person who has this archetype. Like, it's like how in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, when Aster Phoenix in Season 2 is like, I play Elemental Heroes. Everyone's like, what? But that's Jaden's deck.
Yeah, so like that's very much what Richard Garfield, the inventor of Magic, kind of thought it would be like. And then it turned out people had very little self-control and bought way more cards, and then the internet sort of happened. But yeah, originally there was no real like list for like, here are all the cards in a set and everything.
I remember someone saying, I don't remember where it was, but never underestimate people's ability to optimize all the fun out of a game.
Yeah, basically. But I do think that then, excuse me, like, okay, but you know, a booster pack is, first off, a booster pack is a lot less than a video game. right, cost-wise. And second off, because it is an object that you can then take out of the pack and sell separately. There's a secondary market. If you had a game like Pokemon that was randomized like that, you really couldn't have a secondary market for it because you couldn't take the thing out of the unless they did something stupid with NFTs, which with this we're trying to think of how to do this well. So obviously,
we're not going to do that.
Right.
NFPs, non-fungible Pokemon.
I think they did try to make an NFT Pokemon thing, and obviously it failed because. But anyway,
obviously.
Yeah, it's but yeah, I mean, I think if you had to buy your copy of the thing, and really mechanically you could only get the others by trading, then maybe that would work better than the initial idea of it working with the physical booster packs, because the cost to entry to buying another would be high enough that people would be less likely to just buy 50 copies of the thing, especially if you still definitely at least need a second console to then put the other thing into trade with it, right? There are plenty of people who will buy both copies of a Pokemon game, but if you had to buy 50, yeah. But that's still comparably much more reasonable than if you had to buy 50 or 100 because you had no idea how many you would need before you actually managed to get everything.
Or the Diablo Immortal thing.
Well, no. So obviously there are still people who would do that, but it would not. I think it would be a much smaller portion of people, and then you might be able to still sort of maintain a sense of it. Which again is not to say that would be a good idea, but it would still be able to sort of maybe achieve something closer to the original goal than. I don't know. They have enough Pokemon now that they could release a Pokemon game like that. Right? Imagine if you got a Pokemon game, it's we can't fit... this wouldn't actually be true, because obviously they would have to be able to fit all the models and everything into the game, because you'd trade them.
Right.
But, the whole thing of, we can't fit them all in one game. So each game has, a random 150 Pokemon. If you want the others, you're going to have to trade with the other games, which also fit a different 150 Pokemon. And presumably, it would be only semi-randomized, so that I got Rattata on my first route, and this other person got Quoval or whatever.
Yeah. Plus, they've established that multiverses are a thing in Pokemon. Do something tie it into the story.
No, I think that would be actually a really cool idea. I feel the idea that the multiverse of Pokemon is consistent of every save file that ever has, will, or could exist is not an unreasonable way to interpret it.
Yeah.
But
and even some extras, like the guys from Team Rainbow Rocket.
Right.
And Ultra Space.
I said, or that could exist.
Yes, true.
Right? A Pokemon game could come out that would tell that story, and thus it exists in that possibility space.
Or someone just loses the battle and then just stops playing the game.
Right. There's this sort of thing that happens due to, I think it was actually sort of popularized by, there was a Scientific American cover that had this effect, and certainly it's also shown up in comics and stuff, and I think maybe maybe it showed up in Star Trek at some point, I'm not sure, of the multiverse as being it looks like outer space, but instead of planets, you have
Universes.
And that's not like... That doesn't actually really make any sense, if you think about it. If you go to, like, quantum mechanics, it, like, you know, without even getting into any kind of, like, metaphysical or completely, like, speculative, just, like, you know, science fantasy type
like,
stuff.
They would have to be constantly splitting, right? Like cells.
Well, so, are they constantly splitting, or is it just that
they already existed and just
they already exist? Right, because, like, time also, like, what do you mean always splitting? There's no such thing as a now. There's this moment, and we perceive it as being, like, causally connected to the moments before and after it, but even that's not, like, really...
And then there's, like, how about the universes that are only different from other ones because interdimensional travelers arrived there?
Exactly, yeah. So, the idea being that, well, interdimensional travel... The argument being that if quantum mechanics, in very, 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 very simple terms, says every, like... here's the explanation for why... things, you know... The explanation for why things are the way they are, as opposed to another way, is they aren't that way as opposed to another way. They also exist the other way. You happen to be in... Like, why did this coin land heads instead of tails? It didn't. Every possible outcome did occur. It landed heads, it landed tails, it landed on its side, all of those happened. But your point of observation, only saw one of them. But all those possibilities did always exist, and thus they do happen somewhere, just not here. The multiverse is not a big collection of other planets that look like, you know, our world but different. It is the abstract phase space of which we happen to only be looking at one possibility of, and someone in another possibility, we are then part of that abstract phase space.
And then there's the concept of, you know, if someone travels to another universe, right? There's a universe where they arrived there and a universe where they didn't arrive there. Then there's all the stuff they do. And then when they leave and go home, well, their home universe, like, how do you determine which one that is? Like, if other events have occurred, there's various possible universes that it could have diverged into after you left.
Right. The actual answer is there's no such thing. You finish first.
And there's an infinite number of yous that now want to return to your home universe.
Yeah.
So, like, do they return to an infinite number of your homes? Like, does some of them arrive in the same universe? And if that's possible, then there's an infinite number of universes where an infinite number of different amounts of you all return.
Yes. Exactly. So the idea of a home universe in and of itself kind of becomes, like, not really a useful idea, I think. At a certain point, the idea of, like, any universe, like, any distinct universe existing for more than a split second is like, well, no, because it all is connected to an infinite number of variations, even, you know, every Planck time later, there's all the different ways that it could be. So you don't ever exist in one universe. You are traveling from one universe to another every second.
And some of them, it's Bernstein Bears.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, yes, but only because I think there is something to the idea that there, you know, there is obviously there is obviously an actual, a world, a thing that causes stimuli, which then individuals interpret as sensory information, and they construct their world from that, right? There is a thing that is casting the shadows on, you are in Plato's cave and you are looking at the shadows of the real things, but there are theoretically real things, and if nothing else, there are certainly real shadows that you are looking at. But also at the same time, there's no way to actually prove or go back and check to see whether your subjective past experience happened the way you remembered it or not. So yes, realistically, if you wanted to no, obviously it was never actually Berenstein. It has always been Berenstain. Berenstein is because of this, and this. Well, yeah, that's literally true. But what's literally true very rarely matters to any individual's experience, and it doesn't matter whether it was actually Berenstain or Berenstein in the past, because however the person remembers it is the only way that reality exists anymore. Right? You have now moved past it. Now it's Berenstain. Whether it was actually another universe or whether you're remembering it differently, you're not in either. You are in neither the universe where it was Berenstain or Berenstein. You are in the universe where you are currently trying to remember which it was, and you can't go back to either. So does it matter?
I'm gonna title this video "Philosophy and Power Rangers." I think.
Thank you.
Or should it be Power Rangers and Philosophy? Which order?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. We talked about Power Rangers first.
Yeah. But it is not the philosophy of Power Rangers.
No, we could do that, but we actually got into that a little bit. But that's
To anyone watching this VOD in the future who can see what the title is, what is it? Tell me. I don't know yet, even though you've already looked at it, and I know it by the time it's been posted.
And now consider the fact that there are people in the future, from our perspective, watching a version of the video named all of those different things, depending on what you decide.
Oh, you're so right.
And there's someone who, when they clicked on it, remembers it being one, and then they're going to check and see that it's a different one.
Oh. Someone's gonna get halfway through the video and realize, wait a minute, this isn't Markiplier. And that's not because of a universe thing, that's just because they weren't paying attention.
Yeah.
And I mean, if I don't know,
also I would contest that maybe interdimensional travel is not paying attention in the same way that you can fly by throwing yourself at the ground and missing.
Oh yeah, the Douglas Adams multiverse theory.
I mean, I feel like there is probably something to be said for the fact that when one ingests a drug that causes neurological effects of one not necessarily being able to sort of separate themselves from their when you have ego death and there is no one who is observing your present situation, the hallucinations induced by this are often perceived as you are seeing everything everywhere all at once, as the movie was, right? It's maybe maybe it really is the separate perspective which makes any universe exist, and without that it is just the phase space itself. You ever see that movie?
Nope. I haven't seen a lot of movies.
It was very good.
I do remember that one guy who went to go see Morbius 3 times, but he didn't want to give them any money, so he bought tickets for everything everywhere all at once each time, and then just snuck into the Morbius showing instead.
That's really good for like a number of reasons. The one of the conceits in Everything Everywhere All at Once is that part of the process for interdimensional travel is doing something like improbable or like unexpected, right? To like break out of like the routine that keeps you in the pattern of that universe or whatever.
Sure.
And so the idea of buying tickets for one movie and then like going to see Morbius instead is like almost on a meta level very funny.
This guy also went to eat at every Rainforest Cafe.
It's the same guy?
The same guy.
Oh my god. I don't think he's the same guy anymore.
Oh, he's definitely changed from his experiences.
I think a copy of him was left at each Rainforest Cafe.
And in each Morbius theater.
Yeah. I mean, really, in a certain way, isn't a copy of you left behind anywhere you leave? Is there not also a version that chose to stay?
I'm gonna stay in this Wendy's forever. I went to Taco Bell and I never left.
Yeah. It is theoretically possible someone could decide to just sit there until they die. Presumably, one would need to have some very serious issues to make that decision, but...
And the ability to prevent others from removing them.
Well, there's a version where you successfully prevent them from removing you, and there's a version where you don't.
Mm-hmm. But is that still me?
No. But neither are you.
I'm just a flesh mech that thinks it can think.
Yeah.
I'm meat.
They're made of meat. They're made of meat? Yeah. Well, surely that must be a mistake.
You're made of matter?
I mean, that's like the whole... You know, that's like... at the center of so many, like, new agey type things, right?
You ever think about how the fact that the only reason that matter and antimatter are named the way they are is because we're made of matter?
Well, yeah, I mean, sort of like... One of my favorite things the Flash TV show did was having Harry Wells from Earth 2 constantly pointing out that Earth 1 is Earth 2 to him.
Yeah, right. Or, of course, that one Futurama episode with the two universes, and it's like, okay, you guys can be Earth 1, we'll be Earth A.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's actually probably the best way to do it. Like, it gets to a problem once you run out of, like, things that you can use to indicate the beginning of a list, I guess. But, you know, you could go up to, like, you know, however many, like, rating systems probably there are. I don't know if all rating systems have, like, an order, right? Does everything have, like, a thing that they use, like, A, B, Aleph, Beth, Alpha, Beta.
Well, in theory, in an infinite multiverse, it's an infinite number of writing systems to pick from.
Right. Well, okay. So obviously, then as long as each universe at least has one, then you can do that. I mean, that's the other. Yeah, it's like UB Earth, UB Earth A, written like an upside down V with a line through between the two things, and UB Earth A written with a squiggle with a dot over it, and UB Earth like just like they all have A, but it's written differently.
Right. Yeah. UB Earth A, but with this symbol, but with this particular associated scent.
Yeah. UB, I guess the actual thing to do then would be, assuming you can agree on, what values numbers designate, to then, if universes do actually, vibrate at a different frequency, then you just say it's Earth, whatever that frequency is, right?
Sure, yeah.
I was thinking about, the source of the Marvel numbering system and the main continuity being 616, even though I don't think that's actually true anymore, because after the more recent Secret Wars, I think they did. I don't know if they've actually re-established any canon terminology since then. It's been a couple years, probably they have. But, was because DC Comics did have their main continuity as Earth 1, and Alan Moore, I believe, is responsible for being that's stupid. Why would
this be the Prime?
Yeah, why would that be the case? No, the main continuity is 616, and it's an entirely meaningless thing because the designation system only exists because of the Captain Britain interdimensional core.
I'm thinking of I saw a comic that was a bunch of Spider-Man all meeting up, and two Spider-Man trying to figure out what the difference between them was.
Yes.
And they kept listing things, and everything kept being the same, and they kept not being able to figure out what the difference was, and I think they concluded it didn't matter. Or something, but
I feel like that. I think that's probably correct. Spider-Verse is a thing that they've done a couple occasions because it was wildly popular. Because it is an amazing idea, and Spider-Man is such a beloved character.
I think I remember as well. There was a bit with one of them's oh, and I'm oh yeah, I just assumed. Oh God, I hope I'm not racist, Spider-Man.
I hope I'm not racist, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not racist, Spider-Man. Because I think that's it's because he pointed out it was because they were commenting on the Spider-Man from the Tokusatsu.
Ah, okay.
And it's noting that not all of them were white Americans or whatever. It's well, I don't know. From their perspective, maybe it's weird that
we are.
It's oh God, yeah, exactly. But I also like that the comic even went as far as it's weird. I saw one of them. He looked exactly like the guy from One of them looked exactly like the actor from Seabiscuit, and another looked like the guy from Social Network. It's oh, it's literally years before No Way Home. Oh, weird. It's weird that the same person would look like notable actor Tobey Maguire in one universe and notable actor Andrew Garfield in another.
Yeah, I always especially the thing that TV tropes calls mutually fictional.
Yeah, that's very common in DC. I don't know if Marvel's ever done anything with that. Grant Morrison in particular, I think, is fond of that. That was I think at least two characters in the opening of Multiversity recognize each other from comic books in their own dimension, because there's always sort of been this conceit that the events of comics are transmitted to writers from another universe in DC Comics?
I'm thinking about the Infinite Loops, which is kind of a fake AU multiverse premise thing. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I'm not familiar with it, no.
Basically, the multiverse is on a giant computer mainframe called Yggdrasil, and something happened that caused reality to crash. And so now basically all the admins, which is all the various gods pantheons, are basically scrambling to fix everything. And at the moment, the universes are all basically running on safe mode, aka infinite time loops within the narrative of every fictional story. And so, you know, you get fun premises with that, and there's all kinds of fun terminology and stories and stuff, and variant loops and whatnot. But it's established that the most stable universe is the hub universe, which is basically the trunk of Yggdrasil. Which is, of course, our universe.
Which is very big of us, isn't it?
Right. And, of course, the fact that they're able to get all these backups running in the first place at all is because of the hub. Because the hub is basically the backup for all the universes, where all of the other universes are preserved as fiction.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And then, of course, sometimes there's near hub universes, which is an excuse to get all of the fictional characters running around in, quote, our world, end quote, without contradicting how it works.
I feel like it's very, very, it's very bold. It is, each year, it is increasingly bold of us to say that we are the central timeline.
Well, we could be a near hub universe, we don't know.
We are, it is increasingly obvious we're the dark timeline.
Oh, yeah. I already have the goatee.
Yeah.
Yes. The archive is in your debt, Marwalker. Another for the collection. Whatever the archive is in your debt. Yes.
I remember there was a fairly compelling argument that I think has since been, I believe TV Trope still uses the term Jost, obviously Whedon being who he is, that we actually are we're the mirror universe for Star Trek, and that the mirror universe is actually the prime universe, and the quote-unquote prime universe was caused by the Enterprise coming back in, oh my god, which one? The one with the whales.
4?
4, is that right?
Or is that 3?
No, 3 is Search for Spock.
Oh.
So I think it's 4. I never remember which. They start. I never remember because Undiscovered Country is the one with the. So I think it's Voyage Home. Yeah, but whichever one. Voyage Home. Thank you. Yeah, Voyage Home. A number of them have very vague names, and it gets harder to remember which one each actually refers to. Thank you. But yeah, Voyage Home is the reason that combination of Voyage Home and then also First Contact, the time travel of Starfleet showing up before its time, pushing things towards the Starfleet timeline, and without those we would much more likely be in the mirror universe. Which, the thing is, we have had enough stuff of the mirror universe that sort of makes clear that that's not quite, it's at least not only that. There was a thing where they kind of tried to imply in a way that it could be the character is lying, that there's actually a genetic mutation in the mirror universe humans that's responsible for the problem, right? They definitely do canonically say the reason everything is this is one of the first season of Discovery sucks, but I do like the explanation for everything being like literally dark in the mirror universe, that the one difference the one difference is that their eyes, like, they can't handle bright, like, mirror humans can't handle bright light. Right, so they always, like, need it dim. Like, oh, that actually has, like, really far-ranging, implications. Yeah, that would explain the difference, and I don't know if I like that there's such a clear-cut, like, thing. And then later they comment that at some point it was discovered that there was also, like, some spike protein that was, like, different and made them more, aggressive.
And of course, the fact that this mirror universe counterpart to everybody is, don't worry about it.
Well, again, that's one of those things where
tvtropes.com
they sort of say, like, well, yeah, just because, there are also tons of universes where there aren't.
Yeah, I guess. But just tvtropes.com/in spite of a nail.
Well, Picard, that wasn't like a mere universe, though. That was very specifically we went back and changed the timeline. Which is, like, kind of the same. Like, they say on a number of occasions that in Star Trek other universes can come into existence because different choices are made, but this was not Q sending them to another universe. This was going back and actually altering the events of that universe in, like, a weird way that is basically the same thing, but technically matters for the logic of how they can undo it. Because, like, later on Discovery really did have a whole thing where they just kind of have this awkward, they kind of, like, try to just sort of establish, like, in the past 1,000 years, because they're, like, at this point, I don't think it is a spoiler to say that after Season 2, Discovery didn't realize it was a bad idea to try to tell its stories 50 years, or not 50, like 20 years before the original series, and moved to 1,000 years after Next Generation. And one of the things they establish is that by the 32nd century, there's just a lot more knowledge of alternate universes. In fact, they actually give the first mention in main timeline continuity of the J.J. Abrams movies.
Oh.
Where they mention that they had an they mention that it is not, the further one is from their home universe, like, the worse their health is going to be, basically, because of, like, basically the logic from the Spider-Verse movie, right? Like, their atoms are not happy about not being in the right universe. And they, like, established that one of the characters who was originally from the mirror universe is, like, sick because the mirror universe has actually moved farther away from the prime timeline in, like, extra-dimensional space over the last 1,000 years. And their example of how they sort of know about this is the only other occasion of someone traveling through time and to another dimension. Living Witness best friend. Oh yeah. Which is still, I think, technically the furthest that we have forward in time. Is that correct? Like, canonically, those are the latest events in the Star Trek timeline. The present parts of that episode. But the only other person they'd ever run into that had traveled through time and from another dimension was someone who had come from, quote unquote, God, no, I don't remember the exact quote, but it's like a divergent timeline. Discovery might actually take place after that then. But from a divergent timeline caused by the incursion of a Romulan mining vessel. which is what causes the split in the Abrams movies.
And they said that was the furthest one away.
What?
And they said that was the furthest universe away.
No, sorry. I was responding in chat. Living Witness, the events take place in the distant future compared to most of Voyager for reasons that are hard to explain. And I was saying I think that's the furthest in the timeline. But if it was in 3072, Discovery takes place later. No, but in the 32nd century. I don't remember exactly what year, but it's 3000 something that Discovery takes place. They say at some point, I think theoretically fairly close to the Next Generation era. The framing device of Living Witness is that a backup of the image gets reactivated later, and but yeah, that the person from the Kelvin timeline, right, is what in real life we refer to the Abrams timeline as the Kelvin timeline because the event that split was that the USS Kelvin was attacked by the time-traveling Romulan ship, right? So they say that this guy came from a timeline that was caused by the incursion of a Romulan mining vessel, and also wound up traveling to a different time period than he was from. And I don't remember whether it was he was from closer to then and then wound up in Next Gen times, or if I think he was supposed to be from the Next Gen era, but in the Kelvin timeline. So it's a little weird that the Kelvin timeline Next Gen uniform, which we obviously never saw because we've only ever seen the TOS era, look basically exactly like the Prime timeline Next Gen uniform. But whatever.
It's just a slightly different Kelvin timeline.
Yeah. Again, it largely existed just to explain this person from the mirror universe and also 1,000 years ago is in trouble. Here's an example of someone else who had a similar situation and an excuse to finally acknowledge the Kelvin timeline.
Or at least a Kelvin timeline.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's sort of impossible to actually ever be 100% sure, because as we established, no two instances of the same parallel universe are actually the same parallel universe. That being said, it's pretty hard to disprove that it's the same one, given the fact that also it's now very thoroughly established canon that Starfleet, the reason that you see so many uniforms is that they just have them kind of all in use at the same time, actually. Right? It's it's weird that they change the uniform every couple of years. Is it really, though?
It's not really a uniform, is it?
Well, it's generally consistent within a ship, and the Star Trek Online, which is technically, I believe, a separate canon, basically says, it's up to the captain which of the various standards one can mandate. There's a comment in Discovery Season 2, which exists almost entirely to try to fix all the problems Season 1 caused, where Captain Pike of the Enterprise, when he shows up wearing a uniform that looks like the TOS uniform, makes a comment that the Enterprise was so valued that they got the new uniforms early or something. And then Lower Decks, very consistently has, yes, everyone on any given crew will have the same uniform, but another ship might have a different one, right? So Lower Decks has a new design for their uniforms, which I actually really like. I actually have one of it because I think it looks very good. But then they'll go and they'll visit another ship, and that ship will have uniforms that look like the TNG ones, or another ship that looks like they have the Deep Space Nine ones. And it's just kind of like, oh, I guess in post-scarcity, utopia, probably it's not that hard for Starfleet to basically just commission a new uniform every year, and then captains can just be like, I like this new one. I'm gonna have my crew. I'm gonna have us all wear the new one. But like, it's also fine. Yeah, I think that solves a lot of problems, and also like actually, like it makes sense, and also does kind of speak to like sort of the like. I don't want to say like, I mean, it is humanist because it's written, humans are writing the show. But like, it respects it allows the human spirit and creativity to sort of flourish in the absence of capitalism. Like, we actually do cool. The sort of material. I forget what there's a term for fashion design that's slightly more it's not about the fashion, but about designing with fabrics and everything. That is the art is important, and we want to finance that the same way that commission new stamps.
Most writers are human.
Yeah,
I love that one's called Most Writers. Not all.
I'm reading what the switch or your internet function up to. Oh, that's a pretty bad glitch. Huh. Ooh. I don't know. I love that Lower Decks very clearly goes out of its way to try to fix any continuity stuff that it can, because apparently the showrunner did basically negotiations with I will happily make you your funny comedy Star Trek show, but you have to promise that it's going to be canon. If I'm going to do this has to take place in the same continuity as the live action show does. And has used that to great effect.
Mom said it's my turn on the cannon.
Oh, did you get promoted? What? Oh, no. Brushes extra dot off of their collar. No, if you see someone with the wrong number of pips on their collar, generally speaking, it's just because they just had some corn for lunch and forgot to brush it off. Oh, thank you for actually just solving so many continuity errors with the joke.
Wisdom and knowledge must be preserved. The archive is in your debt, Mawwalker. The archive is in your debt, Mawwalker.
Isn't there something in Transformers where all animation errors are canon?
That, knowing how the multiverse works for Transformers, yes, that's almost certainly true.
It was because
I'm not a huge Transformers person, but their system of organizing universes is probably my favorite.
No, it's a matter of all animation errors are canon because of the multiverse breaking.
Right, yeah. But they have ways of noting which variation of a universe it won't just be Earth 1. It's Earth.
Oh no, it's not because of there being in an alternate universe. It's just because reality is exploding. Because there was some character or concept or something that was supposed to be a multiversal constant that exists across every universe. Yeah. And then in one series it died, which isn't supposed to be able to happen, but it did anyway, and that just made the reality across the entire multiverse start falling apart.
Right, but I think there are still also, because Transformers does go really hard into but there's also a universe where they didn't die. And it's wait, but didn't you say, isn't the entire multiverse affected by this? Right, but there's also an entire multiverse where the multiverse wasn't impacted by it, and so we have to know, wait, how is that possible? Well, because someone could theoretically write a fanfic where this is the multiverse where that didn't happen. Like, well, but it's like no, we have to find a way to denote this in our system.
We need to make sure that fanfics can fit into our continuity multiverse.
Well, I also like they basically have they have in place you could give a designation to any universe, even one where there aren't any Transformers, right? Like they have a special thing that refers to universes where Transformers exist, but only as fictional entities, and a designation for universes where they only exist as toys. Right, they have like clusters of universes based on how close they are to various canons, and one of the clusters is centered around a strange, like really weird universe where there don't appear to be any real Transformers, but somehow the humans of Earth, like, by coincidence, created toys that sure do seem to be based on Transformers, and it's theorized that maybe it's because they somehow received, like, images from one of the other or multiversal clusters, but we don't know.
That's supposed to be our world, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the joke.
Yeah.
I'm just remembering an MLP fic that where the BattleNet update agent stopped working. Great. I remember an MLP fic where Lauren Faust did not actually create MLP. Rather, it was they were. No, what was it? She somehow had awareness of the MLP universe, and one of the characters remembers being babysat by Lord Faust and hearing them as bedtime stories or something. And also, it turns out that that like it was a bad end universe where basically the main characters all got banished from Equestria, and Discord sent everybody into a different universe and transformed them, and it turned out they were all turned into humans in our universe, and then 25 years later they all started turning back into ponies. And other...
I feel like I remember hearing about that one.
4 divided by 4, I think it was called, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or 5 divided
Yeah,
by
let's
4.
see. There's the okay, so it's like organized into into universal streams. And there's the Oryx Universal Stream, where the Unicron trilogy continuity happens. There's the Gargant Universe Stream, which is the GoBots continuity. There's the Lucas continuity stream, where the Star Wars crossover Transformers happen.
Lucas.
Yep. Weird. I'm trying to find the one that is... Oh yeah, Quadwall. The Quadwall Universal Stream. Get it?
Fourth wall.
Yep. Nope. I'm on the Transformers wiki. Quadwall. Quadwall is a universal cluster. Common features include lack of Transformers on Earth, where they are fictional characters instead. Known residents of Quadwall. You.
You.
So I guess theoretically our universe is closest to, although presumably still distinct from, Quadwall -3760.925 Theta. There is only one other known universe in the Quadwall continuity family universal cluster, which is Quadwall 1215.15 Epsilon, a world where GoBots was more successful than the Transformers.
Let's see. Alright, I'm gonna do a cutscene thing that I think is important.
Oh boy. Okay, let's pay attention then.
I have assembled the message, starting it.
I've been procrastinating for like half an hour.
By the five houses. It's the Primus.
Should my suspicions prove true, my sigil will be at risk. I must entrust it to your vaults. Keep it safe at all costs.
Remember, the Primus' sigil must be kept safe at all costs. Remember this.
Nothing can stop him.
Great. Surrender the Primus' sigil at all costs. Got it.
Stop him from what? Show the rest of the message.
That is all we have. If we can find additional records, I should be able to reconstruct more of the Primus' message.
Ah, the jailer seeks the Primus' sigil. We must beat the Maw sworn to it. So we'll go open the vault with the sigil in it.
Return to the respite. You will be safe there.
This is a good idea. I forgot we still have Jason. Remember to add your soul fragment to the talks right before the stream.
I do keep forgetting, don't I?
Yeah.
Our plan is ruined. There's no way to get across this chasm.
This chasm.
Nonsense. Bring me bones so I can make a hook shot and anchor points. We'll get across this chasm in no time.
Could you Google Bonesmith hair mirror voice actor? I
Oh,
feel like I've heard of her before
yeah.
somewhere.
air.
It's like air, like is in the air to something, and then
Oh, air.
you might not find anything Blizzard's bad at crediting voice actors.
Yeah. No, I'm afraid. Wait, no, wait, let me. I had it right the first time. I looked over at chat, at the in-game chat log, and was like, oh, wait a minute. Voice actor. So this is not overwhelmingly compelling. The little snippet at the top here is a pull from Wowhead of someone saying, I believe the voice actress for Bonesmith Aramir is Kimberly Brooks.
To IMDb, I guess. To find out who dat.
Well, also voiced Jasper in Steven Universe is the example they give there.
Oh. Yeah, I can hear it. Yeah, now that you mention it.
She also was there someone you thought that
No, I just couldn't. It just sounded familiar. Just couldn't place it.
Well, Kimberly Brooks has certainly done a lot of stuff. The new He-Man series, Loud House, Owl House, Amphibia, Spidey and His Amazing Friends, Proud Family, Simpsons. New Animaniacs, DC's Superhero Girls, Scooby-Doo, Psychonauts 2, She is credited as additional voices for World of Warcraft Shadowlands.
Great.
So there you go.
Additional voices is so unhelpful. Thank you, Blizzard.
No, you see, I particularly like its addition because they have to note if something is a voice role, right?
Yeah.
But for some reason they don't do that on a bunch of the other things that are clearly voice roles because they're a cartoon. And yet here it does in fact say additional voices, parentheses, voice. Really? As opposed to Teen Titans Go, where she really actually live action played Bumblebee.
Hi, Primus.
Come to pass. Even locking my sigil away here may not be enough to...
Got something to say? Speak up.
Does it sound like Jasper's voice actor to you?
New requisition.
Also Allura and Voltron.
Oh. Huh.
Which is completely different sounding voice. I don't know if that's... Is that really? Hang on, let me actually go. So what year... That's here under known for at the top. I'm gonna actually just...
Do you know what it is?
The Voltron, is that right, really? Yeah, wow. That's I did not know that.
Keeper of secrets indeed.
It's amazing how a fake British accent can make someone sound completely different.
Whee! Hold on here, Mira. I gotta do this. I gotta do this puzzle. Immaterial and abstract. The shield is forged from the concept of altruism. Okay, that's interesting.
They're not overwhelmingly reliable, then.
Forged. Mossword. Devourers. Seems like everyone wants a piece of this place.
I can hear a little bit of Jasper in that voice now.
Yeah, no, I hear it. Yeah.
Devourer while I finish the repairs.
Like, not been like, oh yeah, no, this person was definitely right and there's no way that it could possibly, but also like, if that person maybe looked at everyone who was listed for additional voices, and like, probably maybe there wasn't anyone else that was anywhere close, it's like, oh no, that's much more likely then.
Kind of like a more nasally Jasper.
Well, as we've established, she clearly has range if she does Jasper and
Allura,
right?
yeah, no kidding. Very accurate with this thing.
Did she... Oh no, it's...
Whee.
Speak up. Good soldiers need good blades.
There is much to be done.
Given the fact that she was one of the...
Forces are still defending the vault against the Mossword.
I wonder...
We must hurry.
We've got a fleet wing tethered nearby for you, Ballwalker. That will get you right to the forward camp outside the vault.
Oh, there's a nest here, and
She was also Princess Luma in Ben 10 Omniverse. Okay, so she has on the side of the voice spectrum. No. Given the fact she was one of the main voice actors, I guess we're in DC Superhero Girls, I'm almost surprised that she did not also have some major role in Friendship is Magic. There's so much overlap between those two.
Ooh.
Also a very different voice. Did you ever watch that? It is amazing how it's very much like Lauren Faust was like, I'm just going to do My Little Pony again, but instead of horses, it's DC Comics characters.
Which thing?
DC Superhero Girls?
Nope.
The most inventively named show in the world. Like, this is, you've literally, you had spare My Little Pony scripts laying around, and you like went in and swapped out Rainbow Dash for Supergirl. That girl consistently written as basically more crazy Twilight Sparkle. Which is, to be clear, I don't mean more crazy than Twilight Sparkle, which is not necessarily possible. But, you know.
Trying to think of who Batgirl writes friendship reports to. Dear Princess Hulk.
Presumably Batman, given like
Dear
the
Princess
characterization
Batman.
in the show. Of in this continuity, she's like never actually worked with Batman. And he was actually just like a fan that I don't remember if it was ever established whether she knew his secret identity or not, or that presumably, like, I don't know, they like make a big deal obviously that like her dad obviously is not publicly a very big fan of Batman, so it's
Must be Princess Waluigi, which is an image edit I made once.
It's just Daisy.
You say that, but I literally recolored Daisy's outfit.
Yeah.
And gave him wings and a horn. Of course.
Like, it's a shame that the joke of that comic where it's like, how come we don't have parallels like that? And Peach, like, looking at her, and then you see the, like, lowercase P and D.
Yeah.
It's a shame that the rest, that doesn't work if it's uppercase, but whatever. Otherwise, it's very funny.
Where Rosalina and Pauline fit into this, I wonder.
Like, those almost work. Like, at least, like, R and P, like, it's not flipped, but they're very, like, similar.
Yeah.
So you could, like, see some axis on which, like, maybe the reason that it's Wario and Mario isn't because it's upside down, but just because they are, like, visually similar.
I remember seeing someone doing color theory to determine that the next trio...
Sonic and Tails.
Yeah, Sonic and
right?
Tails, yeah, exactly.
Which I guess then maybe so then should Daisy be paired with, like, Rosalina, since those are kind of, like, I guess, isn't hers kind of, I guess Rosalina's, like, more blue, or greenish blue than, like, blue, but, like, I don't know.
Shrug.
I like the ones that do actually try to, like, present it in the form of, like, the standard model. Just trying to, like, prove super symmetry via Mario characters.
Sure. Might as well, right?
We have Super Mario, after all.
He doesn't even use the Chaos Emeralds. If he did, would he become Super Mario?
Yes. Now here's the question, what if Sonic ate a mushroom?
It turned from classic Sonic to modern Sonic.
Yeah, no, you know what? That's probably exactly it, isn't it? I feel like if we ever got, like, an attempt at actually making sense of Super Smash Brothers and, like, creating something resembling a cohesive lore, probably they would, like, be like, yeah, the mushrooms in the Mushroom Kingdom grow to carry this power because it will turn out that one of the Chaos Emeralds was buried under the kingdom long ago and they've absorbed some of its power or something like that.
I miss Subspace Emissary.
Yeah.
Everyone was just all in the same world. They just never really like addressed that. It's just,
which is like sort of the inverse of how a lot of other crossovers, like like the MCU even, like there's a lot of stuff that I think is often for good and sometimes in ways that have not been very good. Like all this stuff was made up at a time when it wasn't really a cohesive universe, and now that we are presenting it as a cohesive universe and already have all this stuff established ahead of time, we can like streamline and connect things that realistically probably should have been in the first place, Like how it's very, like the most recent example that is very controversial and still not 100% clear it's what they're doing, but seems pretty clear to me, is it kind of seems like they're just going to say that the Inhumans are just a, like, offshoot of mutants, rather than having two things that are the same thing.
I still think it's funny that there's a character called Mr. Immortal whose species is officially Homo Supreme.
Yeah.
Like, you guys didn't think about that one, did you?
I mean, either they didn't think about it, or one person thought about it a lot and no one else noticed. Similar to, like, you expect me to believe that no one caught in the NBC programming for the day that the Queen died, hey, maybe we shouldn't cut straight from our moment of silence to everyone celebrating because football season has started, so that it looks like we're all celebrating the Queen's death.
Alright, we're gonna go with the sigil.
Someone noticed that, and then when their supervisor asks them, hey, do you think there's anything wrong here? They presumably truthfully said, but in an attempt to mislead their boss, no, I see nothing wrong here.
Okay,
right?
So we needed these specific people to open this vault, to do a ritual to open this vault where the sigil is.
Alright.
So if we hadn't done this, maybe he would never be able to get the sigil, but now we've opened it.
This is a very consistent thing in stories where it's like, if you just didn't, then
we must secure the sigil. Technically, we just made it less secure.
Get this vault
yeah.
now.
Yes, of course. Sigil first, other relics later.
I mean, wouldn't the actual, like, solution be to kill one of the people required to open the portal? I guess they're all dead already, right? Or are they not because they're, like, abstractions in the afterlife? Were they ever alive?
No. They are native.
If you needed them all to open this thing, and without it, it can't possibly be accessed, make sure that it can't be accessed.
Is this the guy we met before, by the way? His name is so generic, I can't tell.
I don't know. That's also an issue with. There's a podcast where it ended literally basically because like the villain's plan very obviously relied on the people who were recording the podcast to continue doing that and following the bad guys to a specific location and therefore like fulfilling a prophecy. And so the characters literally were like, oh, okay, well, let's just not do that. We quit. We're not gonna go. And that was the end. Everyone was very mad.
So much knowledge. We cannot leave it behind.
The sigil is more important. Get us out of here.
So we have the sigil, but it's like bound in some kind of magic, so that we can't get to it properly.
Well, we better get rid of that so we can get to it.
Yeah, exactly. You understand. This is all a very good idea.
We stand together
Absolutely.
against the darkness.
If they get through this door, they win. Oh, well, I'll just remove the door. Haha. Now they can simply walk inside. No, you idiot. You're missing. Like, that's not the part that was the problem.
We bring in the bulwark of divine intent.
Trust in the purpose. The archive is in your debt, Mawwalker. Wisdom and knowledge must be preserved. Seek out knowledge wherever you go. A true scholar studies all.
Haha, unlocks. And now to continue with the quest line. I'm gonna tell people we're still going real quick.
Sounds good.
There is much to be done.
The Promise's sigil is bound together with the magic of memory. It reminds me of something you've had before. Made an ally of the rune carver. Maybe he can separate the sigil from the tangle of memories.
Balance must be this magic bound with
Like-
Promise's sigil.
You know, the guy who is in the jailer's tower.
Have we been given
Much like the memory
even the slightest
rune carver.
excuse for why we were making this easier for the bad
Perhaps
guy?
he will know how to untangle the sigil.
Torghast? Unacceptable. You might as well deliver it directly into the jailer's hands.
This is our only path
Well, that sounds like a great idea. Let's do that. That'll make sure the jailer doesn't get it.
We have no choice but to try, or consider this. We throw it off the edge into the abyss where no one can get to it.
So be it.
Yeah, that would probably be...
It's not
yeah.
like we need it for anything aside from keeping it safe from the jailer. Just throw it into
But,
the
you
endless
know-
abyss.
You might need it later.
But the thing is, it's later established that the Covenants can make new sigils.
Yeah, no, as well.
So,
That's
like-
also, well, so like, then that also raises the question of like,
So it's even dumber.
it's like, I don't know. It's like hanging on. It feels like hanging onto a candy wrapper of a candy bar you've already eaten. Like, why do we need it? Why are we hanging onto this in the first place? Well, there's a secret in the barcode, and if someone gets it, they can do something bad. Okay, well, let's shred it.
So not only have we taken it out of the super secure, secret, long-lost vault that it was in. But we are now working to attempt to remove all of the protections on it.
Yeah, and like, why?
Yeah.
If it's going to be this much
This
of
is
a pain
our
for us
only
to
path forward. We have no choice but to try. You sure about that, Bobar?
to
I have an
get,
exclamation
like,
mark above my head. You must do this.
Like, to try to get rid of all the defenses in place, stopping the bad guy from doing the thing we don't want them to do. If it's this much of a pain for us, and we know how to do it, doesn't that, like...
Is the rune carver? Doesn't look
It does, it's just...
Alright, here we go.
If there was a reason that
Cutscene.
we also needed to use it, then that would be, like, excusable. But if it's literally just like, now keep it, then... Oh, great plan.
Where'd that beard come from?
Primus! You've been trapped here
Follicles.
all this time?
You brought my sigil to Zoval's lair?
Forgive me, Master. We were only...
It's almost like this was a bad idea.
He is coming.
Sorry, Master, we're holding the idiot ball.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, yeah, exactly.
You fool! Why would you have brought the sacred idiot ball here?
The hour of battle. I will infuse you with the power of anima surging through Torghast. Occupy his forces while I find a way to escape.
I'm getting juiced. Oh. Those are some buffs.
I mean, let's be honest. If having the sigil impairs one's judgment this much, maybe we should just let that guy have it. He'll screw himself over easy.
Having a laser beam battle.
Laser beams. Give them a little bit of the old zip zap.
I cannot lose him again. For Maldraxxus!
Hey.
That all those ages spent in the maw might change you. You might repent for your sins.
Should have sent him to Revendreth if he wanted that.
You have only grown more malevolent.
Also, you know, anyone with a half-decent grasp of psychology would tell you that, generally speaking, just, you know, that kind of punishment is never actually going to get someone to, like, meaningfully change. And you need, like, positive reinforcement as well, but okay. Like, if you really want the actual effective way to do it, that would still be absolutely terrible. But yeah, send someone to some unbearable hell dimension. But also, every time they do something good, they get a bowl of ice cream.
Oh, the guys we killed all got back up.
Were they supposed to, or?
Seemed to.
Oh yeah, wow, okay, no, they're like, because like it'd be kind of funny if it was just like, oh, they forgot to like
Well, magic
code
went
it
into them
properly.
all, so
Yeah. Okay, so they are supposed to have.
Mourn blade.
Hey, guess what? And now
Oh,
he
no,
has
what
a
a
sigil
preventable
because we
scenario.
brought it right to him.
Yeah. Wow, that's exactly what they said was going to happen.
And this is
That's
why
for-
Bolvar is worse than
Bring
useless.
it right to the jailer. Oh, wow, that's a great idea. Let's do that.
And literally, Bolvar's only reason for doing this is because we have to. Why?
Yeah. Why? Yeah. What happens if we don't? Well, we have to. Okay, but hear me out.
Do not forsake. There are still those who need the skills of the rune carver. I will leave an echo of what I was here to aid them.
Well, that's one way to deal with the continuity.
So now you can still use this NPC's services.
Yep, that's definitely one of those things where they spent a whole day probably just being like, so how do we
All existence.
how do we justify this? And they came down to, oh, he'll just say he makes a copy.
Yep.
All right, can he just do that anytime? Is there a limit to the number of copies he can make? What's stopping him from just?
Love that he included the chains because they're part of the model.
Yeah, like there's, which I bet you was actually a conversation. Like, hey, do we bother with that, or now that there's like really actually obviously no need for the chains, and it's a kind of like, can we get rid of it? And they decided no.
The funny thing is, like, his mechanic is like bringing him his lost memories back, which unlocks new things you can craft. But
Yeah.
like, they kept adding new memories in like the patches after this.
I mean, you know.
So like, we're getting
you
his
remember
lost memories, which
everything?
the real him already remembers, so we can bring them to his copy.
And they are definitely memories that the real him remembers. It can't be something that maybe he forgot, like what he had for lunch, you know,
No
3
idea,
years ago
man.
on a Tuesday.
No idea.
Like, I mean, you know, I remember who I am and where I've been, but if you ask me what I had for dinner on, like, you know,
A given
October
day.
3rd, 1999, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
That memory is in fact lost. I don't think I could ever be able to figure out what I ate that day.
Or like what the
I can't
color
even tell
of
you-
shirt of
Yeah,
like
I
your
can't even
last-
tell you what like theme my like birth. I remember a couple of themes I had for birthday parties, but I could never tell you which year was which. Like people just forget things.
brains are only so big.
Yeah.
Some information has to be discarded if it's not useful.
Yeah, discarded or at least like compressed into a form where it's not really ever
Turned into
gonna.
a zip.
Yeah. Which, as I understand, is actually kind of maybe closer to how the brain does it.
This is probably why memory is so imperfect, because you basically have like the bones of memories and you're trying to reconstruct it.
Well, not only are you reconstructing it, but actually what happens is every time you try to remember something, you're actually accessing the. Well, you're accessing essentially, you know, to use computer like metaphor. You're not accessing the original memory. You're accessing the last time, like the file of the last time you remembered it. So there's always going to be copy loss.
Yeah.
Purpose and find its future. When this comes to pass, new sigils can be forged. They will be needed to pursue Zoval. Should our assault.
Hear me out. What if we don't make more things the bad guys can use against us?
Well, the idea is that they're basically a set of keys to open magic doorway. And if he gets all the keys and goes through the door, then we're going to need our own set of keys to follow him, for some reason.
Maybe we shouldn't have made them that he can okay, they can open the door. Maybe in case something like this happens, you could have had it so that it doesn't lock behind you. you have to come out and then lock it, or I don't know, like.
Together we will play.
It seems to me that, you know, especially when you're dealing with like these ageless entities from beyond, you'd think that when they like now obviously everything's happening at once. But you know, before you set the universe in motion, you have literally an eternity to think of how you're gonna set it up. You'd think that these would be things that you would put a little bit more thought into before hitting go, you know?
I will not do the quest to defeat Sylvanas, thank you.
Yes.
So I think we're like halfway through the Corthia campaign now, and we got the Primus back, and we had our idiot ball.
Yeah, it's probably a good
point
stopping
to stop.
point, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been like 3 hours, 45 minutes.
Yeah. I do actually. I still have some homework I need to do, so.
I'm getting hungry as well.
Food is a good idea.
Yeah. So thank you for joining me, Jason. This definitely was a lot more interesting than it would have been otherwise.
I try.
You are very good at holding a conversation. I will say that. You're good at helping us find things to talk about.
I think a lot.
Mood. It's like it's much easier to.
Did you see the picture I reblogged on Tumblr? I have a normal amount of thoughts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
right.
It's much easier to carry a stream with 2 people.
Definitely.
Alright, thanks to those who watched, and see you guys next time. And maybe next week we'll have something special.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right.